Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 349. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Johnny V.
Right next to me.
Yeah. Speaking of getting next to you, I think tonight when we're done here, don't tell the city of Milwaukee, but I think I'm going to rip down the no parking signs that don't seem to be doing much in front of your house anymore.
You know,
Do you see anything? Do you see any actual construction work taking place anymore out front of your house?
no.
Yeah, I don't think there has been for a few weeks, and I feel like
least 2
they've
weeks.
abandoned the signs that say "Do not park here," which are completely ambiguous. It just says "Do not park here" anywhere. But then there's not really a start point. There's not really a finish point. There's people parked everywhere.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
They're I may take it upon myself. It will not be vandalism. It will be. I don't know what the term is.
I'll turn a blind eye to it. I drive by it every day when I come out of my alley and circle around the block, and I see it, and I go, ooh. There's two things about my street right now that annoy me. That and it's riddled with potholes.
Well,
Like that's just kind of the time of the year, but for Wisconsin weather, but still, like, sheesh.
yeah. And if we're backing this all the way up, a while ago there was a pipe that burst.
There's a water main that broke across the street on that side, so they had it all blocked off.
They totally ripped up like.
Yeah, it was probably like a 12 by 12 chunk of concrete that just came out of the road, and they very nicely repaired it.
Yep,
Everything
it's been
looks
great. Looks like it's been repaired for quite some time.
I don't know.
Yeah, I may
there.
take it upon myself to help take those signs and dispose of them. So
All right, let me get my camera out first.
welcome everyone. We are here for podcast 349, a crazy busy weekend in disc golf over this last weekend. We'll recap some of the things that took place. We're hopefully planning on having none other than four-time women's world champ Valerie Jenkins. In fact, looks like she should be all ready to go here in just a few moments. We're going to have her join us. She actually played some golf this weekend, but I don't want to spoil all of that just yet. We'll talk to her about it. We saw plenty of golf taking place, of course. Silver Series event taking place out in California, the Challenge at Goat Hill. Congratulations to our champions over there, Mr. Ricky Wysocki, and then teammate in Lisa Fakis. So congratulations to them. I, along with a couple other cameramen, were down at the Huck Central down in Central, South Carolina, and saw some great battles take place down there. The 303 Open was taking place over in Denver. There was disc golf everywhere. And then, of course, on top of all of that, the WGE, the Women's Global event taking place.
Over 3,500 competitors, I believe I heard.
Yes, and again, one of the women that helped start it all is Valerie Jenkins. So we're super excited to have her. I've just told her that if she's ready to go, she can dial us up on the old Skypes, and we can welcome her in and get talking to her.
Like normal, we're going to be winging it a little bit. We didn't get a chance to test with our guest, but Val's a pro.
Yeah, I mean, she's on the mic every other week, it feels like.
Not
or
recently.
just about. Not lately, but she will be coming up soon.
Yeah, they've had a little break, little hiatus, and we're going to get the Dosses and the Jenkins and the Millers and the everybody else. We're going to get them back. We're getting the band back together, Terry.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So as soon as Val's ready here in just a moment, hopefully we will pull her in on the Skype and then go from there. Okay. I don't know if she's looking for... Her and I are playing this little game of, okay, ready. So we'll see if we need to dial her or if she's going to dial us.
I'll spin her up. I will spin it up then.
I don't think they say that anymore. Spin it up.
You don't play with records? There's a record player in my daughter's bedroom right now.
Yeah, I don't think anyone spins it up anymore. But I mean, maybe we could. I mean, it's disc golf.
Yeah,
we should be.
We should spin it up, Terry.
Like the Z machine.
Well, most people don't know what that is.
No,
but
I
that's
know.
Okay.
They think it's like my sleep apnea. Like it's a slumber machine. Okay, it's not.
I
well,
wish.
Without further ado, we're gonna bring in our four-time women's world champion, Miss Valerie Jenkins. Hey, Val.
Hey.
How are you?
Nice shirt, Terry.
I know. I was wondering, am I totally pandering?
You are pandering.
All right, guilty. Guilty.
He's a suck up.
I am. I mean, when I visit, and then sometimes I get some beverages. I feel like here's my advertising back, where it all works out. Maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, you have some apparel sitting at the brewery right now. So on your
do.
next trip in a couple weeks.
I do. That's right. I'm looking forward to it. What did I pick up? A sweatshirt on clearance closeout?
I love it.
discount?
You don't even know.
I don't
Buy
even
so
remember.
many things online.
I'm just like, here, take my money. Well, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, a little tired. It was a long weekend. It's been a long couple of weeks. We just moved into a new house.
What?
Yeah, so
I
we've
was
been
thinking
in
like
our house for a week and a half. We bought a house, and so moving and doing all the work at Bevel, and then having to play disc golf, which I haven't done in quite some time. It was a busy weekend.
Okay, well, one thing at a time here. Let's start with the house, because I was wondering, like,
What room
where
are they in?
Yeah, where the heck are you? Because it didn't look familiar. Is this the one at the end of the street that we looked at right before I left last time?
It is, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we've taken Terry on a couple house tours.
Yes.
Terry's an experienced house shopper? No, you're not.
Not really.
No.
Yeah,
I'm like those two guys from the show. What
The twins?
The
big,
twins.
yeah, I don't know their name, but
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'm not that. Okay. So, well, congratulations. Now, you guys, like everyone else on the planet right now, searching for a house obviously is stressful, and there's a ton that goes into it. But then the market is insanely competitive, and I think it's always competitive out in Bend, that a place that's growing so much in the first place. But then even more competitive with just where we are in today's house buying economy. Was it maddening? Do you feel relieved? Like, where are you guys at now? How many places did you look at?
I think we looked at about 10 spots and put in probably 5 offers or so. It was a little crazy, and really we were only looking for maybe a month and a half, but it was just something you just had to be on. So, I mean, even when you were in town, even when we were doing the live coverage, it's like, okay, a house just popped up. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
And so we bring Terry with us and go check it out. And it was an exciting thing. I think it's really fun to see potential in different houses. I mean, we took you to a dump of a house.
Yes.
And
Yes.
He told
we
me.
saw the potential in it.
Uh-huh.
We like doing those sort of things, renovating, and thank God we didn't end up with a house like that. I gotta say, right now, we're in a house that's basically completely renovated on the inside. We do have some work to do on the backyard. We're on about a half acre, but it's right in town. And so we started doing some work on the backyard this weekend, even though, we could wait, but we're just excited about it. So we went right for it.
Well, like when we had gone to that fixer-upper, I guess is the best way I'll word that. When we had gone there and you saw potential, I saw headache.
You may have
headaches.
called it a disaster.
I thought I saw a headache. I saw turmoil. I saw frustration. I saw an insane amount of work. And you were like, yeah, I mean, we could roll with this. And so I love your spirit, but frustration and everything else aside, I think the way you guys went was probably a little easier bet.
Yes. And now all we have to deal with is just unpacking. And that's a task in itself. Once you get everything packed up and in boxes and you move it here, it just you get excited about just an empty, clean house, and you start adding a few things here and there, but it's like, I don't even want to tackle the garage. So yeah, I'm very thankful that we're not having to deal with renovations and having to redo the whole house before we even move in. So yeah, I think we're in a good spot.
Good. Well, that's awesome. I'm super excited for you guys. Really excited to check it out. I don't need the exact details, but I'm sure, like everywhere else out there, you probably had to put in an offer over asking even when it was all said and done, or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
And I know it's competitive here, and I know, I've heard it's competitive pretty much anywhere else in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Well,
every major city, basically.
yeah, of course.
And
well,
then,
Yeah.
if you're flipping, or not flipping a house, but like us, who has been looking for 8 years, I just casually, now's the time when you think, oh, it's a great time to sell because you're going to get more for your house. But then you're looking at like, I might get,
Where are you gonna go?
I might
everywhere
get,
else is.
I might
gonna
get
be-
20,000 more for my house than I normally get, but I'm going to end up paying
Yep.
100,000 for the house that we want and 100,000 more or something. It's really kind of crazy right now, the housing
unfortunately,
market. And
it doesn't just benefit one
No,
way.
it's
Unfortunately,
not.
It's a two-way
It's not.
street. Well, again, congratulations to you both. That's stressful, but yet exciting, and it's something that you guys, the fact that you got start to finish all in, a couple months, though, even that
Yeah.
time saved in the form of frustrations or anticipation, I think will probably be relieving now that you guys are all settled in. So that's awesome. So, amidst all that, you find a way to go out to the somewhat local course, right? And
Yeah.
then you shoot the best women's golf round average in the world. I mean, come on. Like, that's not even
Kinda
fair.
crazy.
So how did it feel? How much did you practice? Did you practice at all? Did you just roll out of bed and like, where's my bag? Oh, okay. I'll go play golf today and
just grab
shoot
3 discs.
yeah, shoot the best in the literally in the world today. What? Give us the breakdown.
Yeah. Well, I said we did some work on the backyard. So my warm up for the tournament was shoveling and raking about 10 tons of gravel and at least 6 dump truck loads of dirt.
Okay.
So I feel like I really got my shoulders, my back warmed up.
Mm-hmm.
I was thankful I could still move that day. Yeah, I haven't played since my mom ran a women's league back in the summer. She did a 10-week women's league. And so that was literally the last time I've had my bag, picked up my discs, thrown a drive. So yeah, it's a little rusty. But it was a course that's pretty welcoming, just a lot of big drives, not super technical. So it was really just perfect for women that were coming out there. That was their first tournament they've ever played. And then even for me, I mean, a lot of the holes are around 350 feet, 400 feet. And so it just required a lot of distance drives and making sure my putts were on line. And we did have a winter putting competition over at Bevel. So that was the last time I was actually around a basket putting. So I guess it's just like riding a bike.
Yeah, I know, but
not everybody rolls out of bed and throws down 2 950 rated rounds. I kind of feel like a lot of people, Terry, myself, we probably have a floor. Like if we don't play for 6 or 8 months, 920 for me, I don't know, 940 for Terry, something like that. Like just where you're rusty. 950?
956.
I'm sorry, 956? That's amazing. That feels like, and for everyone at home, everyone's going to ask the question, that feels like you could just honestly step right back on tour and just be in the competitive, looking at top 5 finishes
again,
and things like that.
Well, I didn't stop playing because I wasn't good. I stopped for other reasons, but I don't know. It's when people, I get it, ask this all the time, when are you going to play a tournament? When are you going to get back on tour? We miss you out there. It's like, we've got so much going on at Bevel, so many amazing things, and it's amazing to be there through this growth. And we're really just pouring our heart and souls into this business right now. So, I mean, I don't think people understand how difficult it is to be on tour and to prepare every single weekend, drive to the tournament. I mean, even this couple of weeks for these people on tour right now, going from Emporia, maybe to Goat Hill, up to San Francisco, and then practicing all the courses and dedicating all the time through the weekend. I mean, it's just not in the cards for us with what we've done so far with Bevel. It's just, you gotta kind of choose one or the other. And right now we're fully focused on Bevel. Thankfully, we get to do the commentary, which I think is a really cool way to still be involved with the sport without having to dedicate all that time traveling and everything. And yeah, I think just watching all the women play, I think that has a lot to do with it too. It makes me feel like I'm still competing or I'm still part of the action. So maybe I'm just soaking it all in and studying it all. Who knows?
Yeah, and usually you don't retain or gain skills by television or osmosis. I think we'd have
It's
a
not
lot
what
more.
I read on the internet.
We'd have a lot more better
Yeah, you
golfers
too.
out there.
Think of all the people that learn how to play, watching your videos, watching Jomez live coverage. I mean, a lot of people, that's how they've learned how to play disc golf. So maybe there's something to it.
Maybe I guess you're. I mean, what about your competitive spirit? I think of you as always being so gracious out on the course and enjoying yourself. And if you were frustrated, it was almost even hard to tell that. So with all of those various feelings, where does the competition sit with inside you? I mean, was some of that reignited this weekend at all, or did it not really give you that vibe? Like, how do you feel about watching all these other women that are your peers that you're obviously could be competitive with on any given weekend? Where is that fire burning inside, or not really?
I think just in general, like I'm not out on the course as much, so I don't want to let myself down. Like I'm still just as competitive. I expect to hit every shot and make every putt, like as if I was practicing and competing on tour. So I think there's still that kind of that fire inside me to want to do my best, and it's really just for me. The competition for the women's global event was really fun. I actually got to play with two women that traveled down from Washington. Both of their names are Erin. One of them, it was her first tournament. The other, she had been playing for 3 years, and they just created a really casual, fun setting. So it was nice to make that like my first tournament back, something that's fun. It was all about women's disc golf that day, and I got to meet two new women that I've never played with before, and I just thought it was the perfect setting for how that day should be. And it is about the competition, of course, but it's all about having fun, and I just really enjoyed playing with those two throughout the day, and I think that's what made the day so enjoyable.
Well, obviously some of those great vibes, and then your mother was listed as tournament director on file. Were you part of the? I guess I should just assume you're part of the support tournament assistant tournament director staff and all hands on deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Nate was at Tournament Central. He was the guy checking people in. He was doing the scoring, and I would help out here and there when I could. So yeah, all hands on deck, of course.
What is this like to think about? We had Elaine King on a few weeks ago to talk about this year's event, but what is it for you about being one of the catalysts, one of the starters of this concept and this massive undertaking, and to see where it started and what you did to where it is now? How does that make you feel?
It's kind of surreal, I would say. I mean, back in 2012, when we first started this idea, like this tournament, the registration and all the information was actually hosted on Disc Golf for Women, my website.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 2012, nobody had cameras on their cell phone. Nobody were taking videos. I mean, you guys were out there doing videos, but nobody had the accessibility like that. In 2012, we had, I think, 330 some women playing, and that was incredible. I mean, that's still a lot of women to get involved. A first time event ever being run, and I can't think of how many countries. I want to say about 10 countries. But then every other year we would run this event, and it would grow, and it would almost double in the number of players, and the number of countries, and the number of events. I mean, it's really just insane to see. I mean, 3,500 women playing this weekend, almost 100 events around the world. It was scrolling up and down that list. I mean, a lot of different countries being involved. I saw Malaysia was part of the events this year, and I think it's just so cool that with how technology has grown and how our sport has grown in general, that more people are seeing it and more people want to be involved and more women are playing. And I think it's such a cool thing that we have. And so many women, I think probably around half of the women that played in our women's global event, it was their first tournament ever. So I think that's what makes this event so special is people are getting that introduction to the competitive side of the sport. They're meeting other women that play. I mean, there's not that many women, in certain regions that play, but you get to have those conversations. And hopefully that sparks something for them to continue to play throughout the year. So I think it's really awesome that it's continued on. And even though the hiatus of last year, that was, of course, a bummer and everything was canceled, but it's nice to see it come back in full force.
Could it possibly double again in 2 years? Could we get 7,000 women playing in a single day?
Gosh, that would be insane. Like even these numbers, I'm saying these numbers, and it's like the reality of those numbers doesn't set in. But when you would expect, like, imagine if all those women came to one place and all played on the same courses. I mean, that would be remarkable. So, I mean, it is such a huge number, and 7,000. I like that goal, Terry. Let's do it.
I mean, it's crazy. And then I think what's even crazier, as much as we're growing and we're all learning and having these experiences, you mentioned a woman from Malaysia. That was Jenna, who I actually I know. Like it's like I'm just saying we're growing, but yet we're still this Frisbee family. And of course, there's tons of new people that were brought in that are first timers that we don't know yet, but hopefully they stick around, they play, and have that experience, and then next thing you know, when they're bringing out one or two more people in 2 years, we get to that 7,000 pretty quickly.
And one of the themes that we saw this past weekend, I wonder how many of the women that came out were former Ultimate players.
Yeah,
because we saw that their season was shut down and is still shut down technically. I think I heard it's opening up later this summer, like July. The AUDL is opening up and a couple other things, but you have to wonder how many women came over from Ultimate and are now participating in things like the WGE and events in general.
Yeah, I think we had at least 3.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a good amount.
Well, I and that just really reminds me, I got to get into Ultimate shape.
Yes, July's coming up.
Yeah,
you really need
it's going to be Ultimate season for me, so I got to
hit the fields.
Yeah, that's the plan. Okay, maybe not. So, what do you feel like is the next, dare I say, and I know you're not the global ambassador for all women's disc golf, although you would make for a great one. But that's not the title you take on right now. But what do you think is a next hurdle or obstacle or challenge that we face? Are there any, or is it just more popularity? Just more women just simply need to show up?
Yeah, I think it's been incredible in the growth that we've seen. Just even think of live disc golf. I mean, just a few years back, it was not women's coverage was just something that was thrown into the mix. But Steve Dodge continued to fight for more airtime for the women, and now we're doing full broadcasts of the entire rounds, both men and women. So I think it's growing. I think it's incredible that we're being able to see the world's best women compete just about every weekend on live coverage. And so I think just allowing young girls or young players to see these incredible athletes perform, I think that's what's going to help the growth. We talked about it, people watch disc golf on the internet. That is what has made disc golf just this incredible, booming, very popular, growing sport through this whole pandemic, because everybody's had to just sit on their couch and they're cruising through YouTube. I think this is one of those things. Getting more female athletes in front of the eyes of the viewers. I think that's just gonna continue to grow things.
Maybe a really big question, but do you see a day, and maybe you would or wouldn't be all for it, but do you see a day where we have to think about and seriously pursue a split of men's and women's weekends and tours? Have a, whether it's Disc Golf Pro Tour men's weekend and Disc Golf Pro Tour's women's weekend, or whatever, however that would get divided up in the sense of the resources and whatnot. But do you see a separate tour? Do you feel like with the growth and the overall demand for spots, do you see that as something that we're going to venture into eventually?
That would be really cool. And I know it was something when I was on the women's committee, it was something that we wanted to push for. We wanted to have a whole tour of the biggest women's events. It kind of stopped at that point. This was probably back in 2014 or so, because it wasn't as regional as we wanted it to be. But there's these incredible meccas of women's disc golf. I mean, Wisconsin's one, Kansas City, Michigan.
Yeah.
They're running events down in Virginia and up in Massachusetts. And Oregon's got a great base, but we've got the one tournament, the Chick Flick. California had the Poppy Series.
Mm-hmm.
So there are plenty of women's tournaments, and more of them are getting bigger purse sizes, but really they're just focused on kind of continuing that growth. I do think it would be amazing, though, eventually to have those women-specific tournaments, because that's what growth does. I mean, eventually your field sizes get too big, you got to turn too many people away. And we're seeing a consistent number of women out on the pro tour. So now we're up to 30, 35 women, just because it is the open men and women, allowing more players to play. So who knows? Someday, I think it can definitely be a possibility. But right now, I think it's still kind of fostering that growth. I think that's one of the most important things.
I think about where we've come, and then I think about, of course, you have to talk about resources and how they get allocated, and would one get overshadowed or not, and then how do we work on just the overall eyeballs as to if, because some people have said right now it seems like it makes them to have them together, the men's and the women's weekends competing together. We have a lot of golfers that travel with one another, just the economies that go together in terms of making it all practical. I look at you and Nate, for instance. Of course, when you two were on the road, obviously you were at the same tournament every weekend with all the same, in the same vehicle. If you two were even just 2 hours apart from one another, but in the same state, it would be all but impractical, without completely changing up your lifestyle for you guys to be able to pull that off. So obviously there'd be some major obstacles and hurdles to overcome. But it would be interesting to see if we get to a point of growth that, it warrants that we need it.
Couple years yet.
Speaking of a couple years, I just immediately I was thinking about you returning, and then I was thinking about other world champions this weekend, and I thought about how Juliana Korver was playing this weekend, and technically, unfortunately, I don't think the Goat Hill event was a WGE event.
I don't believe it was.
However, Juliana, let's start there. I've got a few other thoughts, but Juliana playing again, have you been able to keep up on that or see any of her Instagram? I mean, she's gone all but full full freestyle and other disc disciplines. Pretty crazy to see her out there playing and being super competitive, or not so crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's crazy, but I think the freestyle aspects of it, and kind of taking a break, it seemed for a while there. I mean, I was competing with Juliana when I was kind of the up and coming pro, and then she kind of took a long break, I think that's kind of what she needed. It's nice to see her come back and maybe have a better mentality about it. Maybe not. I don't know if the world knows, but there were some times where it was kind of the mental side for her, where her putting wasn't the strongest. She was missing those short putts, and
Hmm.
it's just, I'm sure it was so frustrating for her at those times where she's playing incredible, she's competing, and she can't make the putt at the end. And so maybe these couple of years kind of just put all those thoughts aside, and she came back to the sport kind of with a fresh start. So I think it's really cool for her to come back. I mean, for her to do the commentary for the women's nationals, the women's championship, and then for her to be out there competing. I think it's awesome. And I know that the players that are competing with her, there's a few female idols in the sport of disc golf, and people know Juliana Korver. And so to see her name on a registration list or to meet her in person, I know that's a super cool thing for many of the players out there.
Yeah, she took tied for 9th this weekend out
Yeah.
of a field of 26, I believe.
Which
So,
is
Wow.
just incredible, and I'm looking at it right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, to see first of all her PDGA number 7438, of course, a very early member of the PDGA in that sense. But yeah, to see her out there competing, to see her cashing, to know that she's eligible if there were age protected divisions, she even had room there. But her cashing in the FPO division at an elite series, silver series event, I don't know how that's anything short of inspiring or awesome to see out there. Also, I saw with regard to the global event, just a quick search found Des Redding out there, of course, 3-time women's world champ. She ended up in 5th in the Pro Masters women. She averaged 938 golf for the weekend. I maybe no surprise to you or I, or to many that know her, Barrett White in the FP50 division. She averaged 959 golf.
wow.
So you're lucky she
Yeah.
didn't play open against you, Val. She would have taken you
Yeah,
down by a
'cause
couple
I'm
points.
lucky.
But Barrett White, a world champion who was out there competing, and I don't mean to not shine light on other world champions, but those are a few that I just thought of off the top of my head when you were talking about the people out there this weekend. Just incredible. How did your mom do? Did she play? I hope, right?
Oh yeah, she
I
played.
okay.
And I think the last time I checked, she was sitting in third.
Yes, that's what
Yeah.
I'm seeing as well. Third place, very consistent like yourself in that she was 819 and 811 rated, so averaged 815 on the weekend. And huge shout out, we know and love Sandy Gast as well out of Florida. She averaged 939 to take it down, and in between the two, Sandy and your mom, was Kathy Hardiman, huge supporter of women's disc golf, and just an all-around incredible ambassador. It's so great. And then I see Sylvia Vokes at women's 70 plus,
Jeez,
average
wow.
752 golf to win, and like it just
Nice.
excites me to just kind of peruse the overall standings and see all of these names that you and I and Johnny like we grew up with, and all these women that are playing and ultra competitive in a lot of these divisions. It's just so exciting, and
It's
to see
still
where they rank against the rest of the world.
It's still strange for me to see Sylvia playing in the women's division, because she almost always played with a lot of the senior grandmaster men or just whatever field, because there weren't enough in a lot of times in the field that she would qualify for, so she'd always have to play with, or chose to play with, the men. And
Yeah.
so it's just interesting. I was looking like, oh yeah, that's right, she can she has a division.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
exactly.
had
And I think that's
3.
one of the cooler things about the women's global event. Even in our event, I mean, we had 35 women, and at the local level, a lot of them played in their own division. But when you get to see yourself ranking among women all around the world, I think that's what is such a cool experience for these women, whether their first tournament or, I mean, even like my mom, for her to know that she's right there behind Sandy Gass and Kathy. I think that's an awesome thing to know if you were at a tournament with them, you could be hanging with them. So yeah, I think that is kind of the other aspect of the women's global event. You know, if you don't have the ability to travel or the means to travel, this gives you a little glimpse at what it could be like. If you were able to play in your division, you can see other women out there at that same competitive level, and you can see how you would rank, you know? So it's kind of that test of people, yeah, all right, I'm right in the mix there. Maybe I'm going to go on tour next year. Who knows?
Yeah. It's incredible. Another one that jumped off the page, and I know I can't read through all, 3,300 results and standings, but in taking down what I believe was the youngest offered division, junior girls under or 6 and under, Kaya Goricki, so out of Varazdin, Croatia, and at the Black Cats Open. So congratulations to her. It's also crazy. I know where Varazdin now is, thanks to disc golf. It's so awesome to see, and all the international representation. Someone you and I also know very well, Cassie Sweeten, over in Australia. I know, taking her event down locally. Even for me, it brings this sense of togetherness to see all of these names and people you and I have met and seen all over the world, and then watching them do their thing locally, just to be able to report it on this huge spreadsheet. Thanks all, of course, to the PDGA and everything that it takes to pull off this event, because it's nothing short of monumental in terms of the effort. It's pretty incredible. All right. So don't you win? Didn't, gosh, is it Zuka that I think?
24 carts, I think they donated.
Zuka giving out carts. I think every single champion getting a custom Zuka cart or something like that. That sounds pretty sweet.
Well,
for all that golfing you're going to do.
I know that I'm at the top of the list now. I know that all the scores are likely in. But I don't think that they make it official until the 18th of May.
Oh, okay.
Official. So these are unofficial rating. I think that the TV reports come in or something.
Oh, so we may have to scratch this whole interview and then go find a different champion.
I can stop hitting record right now.
Yeah, just be like, I mean, just pull the
plug.
We're
not even live now anyways. I don't even know.
Well,
but that is really cool. I think it's awesome that these sponsors came in and were able to support. I got to think of a cool way. I was thinking, if I did win a prize over these last couple of days, how I could create some sort of giveaway or, pass it along and make somebody else's day. So keep an eye out. If I stay on the top of that long, amazing list of women, and I do win a prize, I might have something special in store.
Yeah, something tells me with the quantity of golf that you play these days, I'm not sure you're as gracious and as amazing as we all know Zuka is. I'm not sure you're going to get full use and benefit out of having a brand new Zuka cart. So that is obviously a very gracious idea that you may find some way to pay it forward.
And I don't have any more room in my garage, so.
You've got rooms now for this stuff. You could have an entire disc golf room.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of your rooms isn't a Disc Golf Pro Tour studio anymore. I mean, you guys have expanded over at Bevel, so you may even have a spare bedroom or two.
I know. Yeah, I'm in our office. We started to put up some of the cooler trophies that we've got. I'm looking at my World's Trophy from Kansas City and Emporia. I've got Nate's USDGC trophy. So yeah, we're starting to go through the boxes of having space to actually put out the cool trophies that we have and not have to just cram them on a shelf in a small little house.
They can actually be on display. Am I right? Is that a didgeridoo behind you? Is that what you got for winning in Australia?
That's a trophy. Yep, from Australia, the first year that they ran the major over there.
Yeah. So you're going to need to play that now. I mean, if I can name that instrument, you're going to have to play it.
If you can name it, you got to play it. I actually tried looking up,
I don't think that's how it works.
Can you play it?
Someday. Someday I will play a song for you.
All right, no Smashbox exclusive didgeridoo-ing here. All right, fine, whatever. Um, um,
Good try.
next couple of weeks, of course, you've kind of, I don't want to say had a couple of weeks off, but in terms of the Pro Tour stuff, things you guys have been obviously doing your own thing, getting the rest of your life all I don't want to say back on track, but moving forward. And now you're busy again. We're back to the Pro Tour. We're back to
Yeah.
being in Bevel's studio. And next couple of weeks coming up, you geared up, you ready to go?
I think so. Yeah, it should be fun. It's been a while since I've seen the courses that they're playing for the OTB Open, which is coming up this weekend. We'll have Ian in the booth with us, and yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to that event. But then, of course, Women's Nationals, and you're coming out here for that. I think that's going to be really cool. I'm trying to figure out some kind of way to have like a little, like a more informational or more graphics of something that Nate can tell us more history about women's disc golf. And we can just look pretty and do the talking, right, Terry?
Okay. Yeah. That's all I'm hired for.
But I think it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a good one.
No, I'm looking forward to it. We're also going to have Hannah Macbeth joining us in the booth. And so you, me, and Hannah will be taking on the main roles there for the women's event. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. Now, I think just to pull back the curtain a little further, you, Hannah, or I have seen the U.S. women's courses. Is that correct? Have you seen any of the?
It's not.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm going to detour right after the OTB this weekend. I'm going to take a little detour and actually go to those courses. So hopefully I'm setting myself up to claim like I'm going to do research. But I do want to go check out those courses because with how unfamiliar all three of us otherwise would be, I figure hopefully I'll have a shred of insight that I can bring into the booth as we all sit down for the event. Also, I mean, you have a ton of history, U.S. women's. I think back to some of my most fun memories ever, 2006, 7, Peoria, Old Man Wallace, Mom Wallace, rest in peace, old man who passed away not too long ago. But those were some of the earlier days. Of course, it started even a few years before that, but those were some of the days where it really started gaining steam and momentum. Do you get as excited to see what's happening with the U.S. women's event these days, and then maybe even the women's championships later in the year as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. When you're talking about those days, I mean, when Women's Nationals was held in Peoria, 7 years?
I think 6 years, at least 6 years, maybe 7.
Yeah, I mean, so we were consistently going back to the same place. We knew the course as well, and I felt like that being right there in Peoria, it was just accessible by so many of the hotbeds of women's disc golf. I mean, all the ladies from Michigan would come down. It was an easy drive from Ohio, Wisconsin, and so that was really cool. I think that's what really helped build that following for the Women's Nationals. And then now that it's gone on the road and traveled around and gone across the country, I mean, it wasn't too long ago, it was in Portland. I mean, to make it to the West Coast. So it's cool to see it in California, another huge place for women's disc golf. It should be awesome. It's a women's tournament, so there's always this really cool social aspect of it. And I know that if there's any type of after party, I don't know if that happens in the world these days, but any of those gatherings that you can have where women can meet each other that have never met before, and they're all coming together for one main reason. And I know it's just going to be a fun, friendly competition type of weekend. Of course, it's a huge title on the line for all the divisions, but it's always a good time at a women's nationals.
Yeah, it's to have the women's nationals, and then also later in the year when we'll be in Rock Hill or wherever ultimately I think it's going to get played over there. Now that we're starting to see, in addition to Women's Global, in addition to all the other events that are women only, it's great seeing such an emphasis put on such a large scale, on such a large stage, and being able to showcase and highlight all of the best women in our sport. It's, you've been there from the beginning, really, Val, and watching it all grow and expand throughout all these years. I think it's just incredibly exciting. So looking forward to some great competition. Are they lucky? Are they lucky, Val? I mean, are you gonna ever scratch that itch? When I know you just said why you stepped aside and what's so important, and all understandably so, but when should they be scared of you again?
I don't know. Like, I've won the tournaments. I've won the big ones. I've done it.
Been there, done that.
What my need would be to come back.
Okay.
I think there's bigger things that I can do for the sport. I've played the tournaments. I've dug deep on tour. I've traveled for 14 years doing that, living in a van, staying at friends' houses every weekend. It's an amazing ride. You get to meet so many incredible people. It's something I would never trade for anything else. But there's different things now. I mean, I think it's incredible that we even have the opportunity to be in the booth and call live disc golf. I mean, there's not a ton of people out there with the availability like that, but it's something that Nate and I are still passionate about. We want to give back to the sport. We want to be involved with the sport. So things like that, supporting tournaments through Bevel, things like that. I think that's where we're going to have more fun in the future, not necessarily getting back into the nitty gritty of competitive disc golf every weekend on tour. Those days are long gone.
She's going to come back on tour when Nate gets his 4th world championship, because she's always going to have one more. So until then, I think they're fine. She can just kind of be like, get back there, Nate.
I mean, and now to clarify, I don't necessarily. I do not anticipate you guys back on a tour in like a full tour capacity. However,
we have a Portland swing.
Yeah. What about an event here and there? I mean, does the same answer just still apply? Like you couldn't see dipping back in because.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing a tournament at that level against the best women in the sport that play every weekend, I want to crush it. I want to beat them. And right now I don't have the time to put into practicing or getting ready like that. So I think it would kind of just be a waste at this point to spend my time, go to the tournament without being fully prepared.
Yeah. I mean, I'd hate for you to show up rusty and play 956 golf and take like 3rd. I mean, that would just be.
Well, Sarah Nicholson on our board, she says if things stay the way they are, you get an invite to the Throw Pink Championship.
Oh, thanks.
So maybe, I mean.
That's an earned invitation. That's not just like a willy-nilly thing. That is a legit earned
it's not like
invitation.
You're grandfathered into this.
Yeah.
You think we could maybe raise some funds to get her a plane ticket?
Yeah.
And, I mean, how do you turn down a plane ticket and a free invite?
And then me in the booth, hopefully calling the shots while you play. I mean, that sounds like, that sounds like a week for you, Val. I'd co-sign that, as Sarah would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll think about that.
No, you won't. No, you won't. That's fine.
What's more likely? You guys going back on tour occasionally, or a second Bevel opening up?
Whoa, that's a great question, Johnny V.
Because, I mean, assuming that you have one Bevel all taken care of, it's great. It runs on its own. You have great employees. You and Nate can just sit back and count your fat stacks of cash. Or do you take that and go like, well, we got one. Let's go for 2.
Yeah, I would say the second Bevel is more likely at this point.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then everyone else can rest easy. They're not worried about the Jenkins Doss combo coming after them and taking their top spots at the tournaments. I think it's a fair question. Everything you just said about returning and the competitiveness and the time and the effort and all that, does Nate almost perfectly mimic that, or does he have his itch Is there more to itch, or does he feel pretty much exactly the same as you? I don't know what the term is.
I think as of recently, he's been now leaning more toward, yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
Oh.
I mean, this guy is waking up at 5 in the morning if he slept in, waking up at 5 in the morning and crushing it till, 6, 7 o'clock at night every day, whether it's brewing beer. He's the president of Bevel, so he has to handle all the accounting, and kind of just he runs the ship. And then we're doing an expansion on Bevel right now, so he's all in the mix of the subcontractors and making sure the project's going good. And he's in his element. Like he's happy, he's working hard, and yeah, to think of if a tournament was coming up and he would have to practice the days before or get himself, it's just not the time or place right now in our lives where he can dedicate himself like that, because he's in the same boat. He wants to, if he's going to go to a tournament, he wants to be competitive, he wants to have his name called off on the leaderboard. We don't want to just play a tournament for fun, especially the big ones. When people see our name on the list, they're going to be, wait, what?
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating if you formerly or close to still are one of the best in the world. It's got to be difficult just to go out and say, well, I don't care about this event. I'm just here to have fun and hang out with my friends. I can do that. You can probably do that. But when you are used to like a certain level, a certain expectation, taking 20th place for Nate and, playing, we'll just say 10-10 golf or something, or 10-20 golf, it isn't happy. That doesn't make you happy. Like,
fun.
Cool. You get to see some of my friends, but I could have just come to the event and hung out with them. I didn't have to go through all the stress. I can completely understand that concept. But yeah. I mean, I think it just goes to show, and us, of course, but also people on the board and people listening. Matt Graham on the board says it perfect. Like, we just want to see you guys play. I mean, and especially some of the younger people who have, for you guys, you're just, I know you're not old, but you're legends. Like, it's almost like, holy crap, do you know that Val Jenkins has 4 world championships? Like, I've never even seen her play.
Mm-hmm.
And these people...
No, YouTube didn't even exist when I was playing. Crazy.
Exactly. And that, like, these people have only been in the sport for a year or two, and
totally.
it's interesting and frustrating and happy all at the same time that you get to pursue a different passion.
Thanks, Johnny B. And it is funny, too. At Bevel, we always there's a TV in the corner, and it's always playing disc golf. And you have to go back pretty far to find coverage where Nate and I are playing. I mean, the last tournament we played was in 2018. It was a Zootown Open. And so that was it. I mean, after that tournament, we drove home and we started demo immediately when we got home. We started demo on Bevel, demo, construction, open, and now it's 2021. I played the Women's Global event was my first tournament since then. So it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, and we can take that right into, I've now had the pleasure of being at Bevel a handful of times, and what an atmosphere. What, I love being able to share it, and you do obviously a phenomenal job with pictures and Instagram and kind of sharing what's going on. But to be there and to be in that atmosphere, explain it to someone, what the vision is, and have you nailed it? Do you feel like Bevel is exactly how you and Nate drew it up?
I think Bevel has become more than what we could have imagined. Originally we wanted it to be that spot for disc golfers to come and, meet up with other friends and come to Bevel after your round of disc golf. And, of course we have discs all over the wall. We've got a great disc rack. We've got it playing on the TV. There's all sorts of little interesting things at Bevel that are disc golf related. but we are in a craft beer state, a heavily saturated craft beer town. And so people come there for the beer, and they come there and expect good beer because we're in such a very competitive state for beer. And Nate is brewing incredible, clean, great beers. And so that's what's keeping people coming back. And so get this question asked a lot, how many people at Bevel, how many are disc golfers? And I'd probably say less than 10%. I mean, we've really created a following because of the atmosphere that we have. We have a great outdoor space, and we've expanded that over this last year. I think we can fit like 200 people outside. I mean, it's pretty sprawling outside. We have 4 incredible food carts that people, they're sought after. People come and they're waiting outside these carts for them to open in the morning. So I think it's a really cool place for people in the community to come. These food cart pods are just becoming so incredibly popular. And so we're thankful that we kind of got into that realm, especially with COVID happening and being stuck with all these restrictions. A lot of the outdoor dining things weren't affected. So we continue to carry on. We didn't shut down one single day because of it. We were either doing just to-go beer only, or we were doing delivery. And things are still kind of iffy here in the state of Oregon, but we're going strong, and we got great weather ahead of us, I hope. And yeah, it's been really cool. And so for the disc golfers that come in, I think it's awesome. People are going out of their way, so they're traveling across the country or wherever to make a pit stop to Bevel. And I think that's the coolest thing, that along their travels they make it a point to come visit us. So I think that's really neat.
Yeah, you guys, and I think you just hit the nail on the head, of course, with saying you guys have a great beer that everybody loves, that's into craft beer, and everybody can find something that they really like there. And then you also have all those great food options. So and correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like some people may come because of the food pod and the 3 or 4 trucks that are there, and then they fall in love with the beer, or they come for the beer and then find the food options. And it just seems like such a great collaboration between you and everyone outside.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of the time, going back and forth on our business plan, we knew we needed food. We knew we needed some sort of food option, whether if it was us cooking it or we had a cart and somebody else was running it. And the situation we're in, we teamed up with this great community here who wanted to run a food cart pod. So they started these 4 carts, and all we have to focus is on the beer and, of course, the atmosphere and making people feel comfortable. But now we have these 4 food cart owners that are passionate about the food they make. They can handle that. We can handle the beer. And I think it all comes together really good.
Yeah, I remember talking to you very early on before you guys had started Bevel, and one of the conversations I just remembered you saying was something about possibly making food and that being part of, the overall vision for Bevel. And then obviously it evolved into you guys instead teaming up with someone. My only very, very personal request is somewhere, whether it's one of the carts outside or you guys internally, we need pretzels. We need good soft pretzels. That's my only. I don't ask for much. I just want a good pretzel. Can we make that happen?
No.
Yeah. No.
Literally go to the grocery store when Terry's going to be there and just buy a bag of pretzels and just put them in a bowl and be like, there you go.
Like a good, really.
Go to the frozen food.
I do love a good pretzel, though. I mean, I'm all for it. Unfortunately, these carts don't have it. So if you're coming for soft pretzels, I'm sorry, you might be disappointed like Terry is. So
I'll get in on renegotiating those contracts when those come up with your food carts, that one of them has to be providing a damn pretzel.
How concerned were, honestly, I mean, you and Nate are both driven, competitive, very smart. How worried were you that Bevel wouldn't pan out when you first opened it? Because as you said, you're in you're in an area that's saturated with craft beer at a time when it's at its peak. Like, I mean, I'm not going to lie. When I heard the thought, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I heard, oh, it's in Bend, which is known for craft beer. And it's like, ooh, that's tough. Like, you have to really stand out to survive, especially in like a restaurant-ish beer. Like, how concerned were you about that?
I think we were the most concerned right before we opened, and our bank account, we just kept spending without any money coming back in. But once the grand opening happened and we were kind of off and running, no worries after that. It is a very saturated town, but the way that breweries are these days, it's more like everybody's going to find the spot that they feel comfortable in. You go to the certain restaurants that you like the food, you like the people there, or you like the atmosphere, you like the vibe of the place. And so I feel like every brewery in town here has a distinct vibe and a certain following of people that are the regulars there. And so I think, we fit that vibe. We're on the east side of town, which there's not that many breweries on the southeast side. So we kind of just opened the gates of the community here. Now we're the closest brewery to them. Now we're their local spot. And, knowing people's name when they come in, getting to know the community. I think that's been one of the biggest draws for people to keep coming back to Bevel. They feel welcome, they feel at home. And I think that's what kind of sets us apart from the other breweries in town.
I was gonna say I have one more question. I'm not a beer person.
Is it pretzels?
No, it has nothing to do with pretzels.
Oh, okay.
But all of your beer names usually have something to do with disc golf. What has been your favorite name? Not the beer itself, but the name that you guys have picked.
Well, name some of them. Go ahead and name a few that you have.
Well, some of our staples are First Run, Flip Up, Black Ace. Fun Day is named after Fun Day Monday. Most people had Fun Day Sunday, but for disc golfers, it's Fun Day Monday. That's our weekend. I gotta say, one of my favorite names was actually, so we did a winter beer this last winter. It was actually because Terry gave us the insight that he likes Scotch ales, and Scotch ales are also known as wee heavy. So it's this just interesting yeast, but very caramely type of beer. So I was like, what are we going to name it? Of course, Terry, you were in our thoughts. We wanted to name it after you. But we couldn't come up with that like good, solid, sellable name.
Mm-hmm.
And all the names come to me just like, it has to be like they all of a sudden come to me. But we named the wee heavy Max Weight because it's wee heavy.
That's a beer after me for sure.
Max Weight.
Max Weight. I totally agree. I like it.
All right.
And then that beer went on to win a competition or two, didn't it? Didn't you guys have it in like a rotating winter offering or something, and it performed very well? Did it get some accolades?
It did. Yeah, it was in a take-home beer fest. So it was part of a pack. They took one can of ours, put it in this pack of, I think, 20 other breweries across the state. So it was distributed here in Bend and then over in Portland. So a lot of people got to try that beer. And actually, people come in who are from Portland. They'd never heard of us before, and that's the first beer they've tried from us. So it's kind of neat.
I'm gonna send over. I went outside of my comfort zone. Well, not really. I tried some new beverages this weekend, and I took pictures of them all. I'm gonna send them to you guys, and somehow we're gonna. You guys can give me some feedback as to exactly what I'm trying to dial in here on my specific tastes, which are just that, very specific. But yeah, I had a wee heavy something or other, which was absolutely delicious. I don't know if it's the bourbon barrel aging. I think that's part of the process that I tend to gravitate toward. I don't know, but these guys,
High
I don't care
alcohol,
much about beer,
maybe.
but these
I don't
guys have me dialed.
know. I don't know. They're great beers. They're that like syrupy, sweet, caramely. Yeah, it all comes from the malt bill. And yeah, they're usually high in alcohol. So I can see, yeah, if you've got one, yeah, you're gonna have a good time.
This max weight guy always has a good time, one way or another. So, well, yeah, it's been incredibly cool to see. One question I wanted to backtrack to a little bit is you talked about kind of clientele or the vibe. How would you describe your vibe if somebody's never been there? I know you talked about, there's disc infused stuff, and about 90% maybe of your people aren't necessarily disc golfers, even though you'll find a disc golfer every time you go in there. There'll be at least one or two or a table full. But if you had to describe, though, your vibe to complete strangers, what would you say the vibe of Bevel is?
Well, in our vision, we wanted to create a space that was like our backyard or like our house. You come in, you help yourself, but then just make yourself at home. It's up to you to have a good time. So at Bevel, you come in, you grab your beer, you grab some food, and you find your little nook on the patio or, your little place in the tap room. And it's a bright tap room. We've got 2 murals inside done by local artists. We just redid a mural out on our patio. It was originally this amazing mural created by this 16-year-old girl, and we just redid it. And another vision of ours is to have that rotate every year. So have a new artist come in, create this huge mural. I think it's like 60 feet by, 15. Pretty large wall out on our patio. So it's just a really community-oriented type of place. Like I said, we know a lot of our regular customers' names. We know about their family. We're talking with these people. And I really feel fortunate that we had the year under our belts before COVID hit. And we all have to wear masks and we can't communicate as much. We don't have people at the bar anymore. But I think that year really enabled us to get to know people because we are the new kids on the block. Nate didn't come from another brewery in town. So we had to make our own presence known. And yeah, it's an awesome place. And you're describing, you'll probably find a disc golfer there. And a lot of the people that come regularly never heard about the sport or maybe hadn't played in years. Eventually they have picked up a disc and now they are regular disc golfers. So that's our other way of giving back to the sport. We should have it on TV. We tell people about it. We've got discs for sale, and we're growing disc golfers here in Central Oregon through beer and through Bevel, slow and steady.
It's very exciting. That's why I love, like I said, sharing photos and videos whenever I'm there, because it does have this great atmosphere about it and people really enjoying themselves. Every time I've been in there, I've run into a disc golfer. We have a couple of Wisconsin transplants in Todd Evans, or Illinois/Wisconsin transplants in Todd and a few others out there. So and Charles Holtz, it's been very cool to go out there and just know you're always surrounded, and then they have the options for the food and the beer and everything else.
And they're fanatics. When the disc golf guy comes into Bevel, everybody knows. And so they start swarming. It's funny, like there's been a couple times where touring pros come in, and if one picture is taken, you just start to see people just wandering in. Like, yeah, sure, it's a Monday afternoon. I'm always here at Bevel. You just took the day off because you saw Paige Pierce was coming into Bevel.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or you knew Nate Sexton was in the other room and he might come through.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
It is cool, and a lot of people, again, we've taken, I think, for granted, all three of us, in a sense, the friendly community and camaraderie and just family we've all been. And now that we're starting to grow as a sport so much more, some of these newer players, like Johnny said, haven't had a chance to meet you, haven't had a chance to run into you or see you play or anything. So now we are getting a little bit, seeing more of you guys experiencing that true like stardom and celebrity fame that goes with it. It's awesome to see.
I'm just going to randomly show up on one Sunday when Nate's there. Sext him.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Val.
Have your disc ready, Sharpie.
I always carry this with me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Johnny B, aren't you supposed to be producing the show? Who's there?
No, I really needed an autograph.
Autopilot.
That's right.
Is there anything we're missing? I mean, we get to hear and talk disc golf, of course, for the next couple weekends. But outside of the Pro Tour and Disc Golf Network, is there anything that we didn't cover that? I mean, it seems like you got plenty going on. Is there anything else we need to touch on?
No, I think you covered it pretty good. Yeah, we're plugging along. It was awesome to talk about Bevel, and hopefully all you people out there watching, if you can go out and travel, hopefully you'll stop by Bend and maybe we'll be there. Who knows? We're sometimes a rare sighting over there. We're like elves. We work when other people aren't there.
Well, I think it's become very clear people are more likely to find you at Bevel than they are on a local course. So if you want to run into the champs, just head over to Bevel because you guys will be over there doing something, I'm sure.
And if you want to meet Nate Doss, just show up at about 5:30 in the morning and shake his hand as he walks in the door because that's his time.
He's going to the MASH or something, right? You guys have a MASH. Is that what it's called? Yeah, something like that. Cody asked earlier, 10 barrel? I feel like it's more than that, right? How many big barrel?
What was that?
How many, like, what's the barrel operation?
Oh,
I forget the fancy terms.
you took the tour, Terry. You should know.
I was
all
drunk.
The specifics.
Or you were drunk. One of the two.
It's a 7-barrel system.
7.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we have 15-barrel fermenters.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. But 5 and 10, I think we did have this conversation. 5 and 10 are like the common sizes, but 7's kind of unique or no?
Yeah, 7's kind of unique.
Okay.
But yeah, we're on the low scale. We're very small. Right now, we're just fully focused on having beer in the tap room. We're not even giving kegs to local tap houses here because we just want to make sure we have enough beer to put on draft. And it's been flying. It's been amazing how incredible the weather's been. People are still traveling, and so we're back to bulking up our tap list. Even though we've been brewing every single week, we have beer on a consistent basis, but it's just been so busy. Those spring break weeks were just insane. But people ask if we can ship beer. Not going to happen. If you do live in Oregon, we can ship beer to you. You can get a 3-crowler, a 32-ounce can, 3 of those shipped to your house. But for the time being, we're just going to stick to Oregon, maybe branch out to a few more states. But it's not as easy as you would think. That the legislation, you just can't ship beer. It's not as easy to ship as wine is or other things. But hopefully it'll continue to grow and we can get beer out to all 50 states someday. But it's only like 11 states we can ship to. And there's all sorts of fees and other things you have to deal with if you want to ship to a certain state. So it's not as easy as somebody would think.
Yeah, and that was going to be one of the questions I was going to head off right away for you, and you went right into it perfectly because that's obviously a common question that comes in, not just for you guys, but anyone that then you see people post online and say, oh, Bevel, blah, blah, I'd love to try it. Can they ship to me? And I've heard that answer, and I know that it's more to it than most people think. Like
that's why we're ready for Bevel Central in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, we're ready for the expansion.
I guess it's number 2. Yeah, we're looking for a location, I guess.
Somebody said we drink beer here in Wisconsin. That's just what we heard, but maybe not. Yeah. All right, Val. Well, thank you for sharing. We all know just how insanely busy you and Nate are, week in and week out. I know you guys barely carve out some time to relax, but I see Bevel is hiring. I've seen that post, so if people are interested,
Drop off
they
your
should
resume,
certainly.
Terry.
What?
We'll see.
What's that?
So drop off your resume and we'll see. You're the right fit for us.
That would be all too interesting. But anyway, thank you again for carving out some time. Looking forward to seeing you sometime. I'll see you in person in the flesh next week, but everyone else will get a chance to hear you this weekend for the OTB Open. Looking forward to it.
Yep, sounds good.
Start doing your research on that OTB. Those courses, they're brand new, and they just released a bunch of the flyovers this last week, so you're going to have to watch all the whole previews now.
Yeah.
I always do. I always need that reminder. It's been a while.
Well, these are new courses, so nobody knows. Nobody's really seen.
Just make stuff up. Be like, there's OB over there. People are like, okay.
Yeah, they don't know. That's true. Didn't he say it was on the other side the last round?
No, that pond. That's not OB. Don't worry about it. Either way. All right, everyone. Well, Val, normally we would tell everyone to thank any sponsors or how they can support you, but that's still applicable. What if somebody did want to support besides coming to visit? What should they do? Where should they go?
You can head over to bevelbeer.com. We've got all our merchandise, discs, and if you live in Oregon, you can order beer on there. But yeah, that's your best way to get your Bevel swag and represent wherever you are.
Good call. And obviously follow along on Instagram. Val heads that up along with some incredible pictures and keeps everyone up to date as to specials and things that are going on. And if you want to stalk down, where Nate's going to be brewing next or what time, one way or another, it'll be posted. So Val, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm holding you to the didgeridoo playing next time.
Okay, I'll try and learn a song. I don't know what the easiest song, like hot cross buttons or something.
Will I know any different? Probably not. So
I will try.
All right, Val, women's 4-time world champion, Val Jenkins. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in a few days.
Bye, guys. Have
good
a
night.
Good night. See ya.
There she is. Wow.
She's all right. I mean, she's a nice person, I guess.
If we have to put up with her again. So great to catch up with her. And again, I've been there. When I've been there for a few days, I see the madness that it is. I mean, they're running a very successful business that the two of them started, and they're slowly expanding and have expanded, along with Justin, who's a disc golfer, who is, another huge component of all the success over there. It's exhausting, and Nate is just that. He's always up at those early hours, and I know Mondays he makes this long trek to go buy some ingredients and hops or grains or corn or something. No, yeah, he goes and buys all this stuff that he makes a long trek to go do, and week in and week out, just constant, they never stop brewing. And as she said, it sounds like the demand is there.
It sounds like there's more demand than there is supply right now, so which is a great problem to have.
Yes.
But hopefully I have no doubt that they'll just keep expanding at some point.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it is a really, really cool, fun, welcoming environment to be in, and to walk outside onto their patio in that area. It's got everything. So make sure you check it out if you ever find yourself over in bed. And they one of the funny things that you may be somewhat surprised by or not, when we're done, sometimes we'll sit there and enjoy either something to eat or a beverage, but almost every time I've been with them, we then go to another brewery in town. And they're going and not only supporting others, they're seeing what others are doing well or not and whatever. So I guess maybe it's a little recon, I don't know. But we'll always go to another brewery. And Deschutes is another big popular one. Again, I'm not even a beer guy,
like
but I'm learning.
Biggest
but Deschutes is there, and that's one of the other, certainly one of the largest and probably one of the more household names that people might recognize. But they're all over, and there's a lot of really great spaces and environments out there. So go check it out.
I love having interviews like that. I mean, Val is great to have and shoots 950 golf, 955, 56, whatever it was. But just getting, I'm not going to lie, Terry. Sometimes interviewing disc golfers week after week after week gets a little boring. Hearing the
Which
same,
ones? Who?
I'm
just
no.
kidding.
So getting to talk to somebody about a different passion is a little more invigorating at times. I mean, I would, if we had Ricky on this week after he had a great event, that'd be awesome. We'd have a wonderful conversation with him. But it would probably kind of be similar to the one we had with him a month ago or whatnot. You know, the same thing, you know, Lisa Fakis, you know, we haven't had her on in a while. So, you know, that could be another at some point. I think she was busy this weekend. I'm not exactly sure, but that's why I leave all the booking up to you. So, but it is wonderful to be able to talk to somebody and, you know, integrate disc golf in with it, but get to hear about a lot of other things.
Yeah, and obviously they've infused disc golf and they've had that crossover into the passion of the disc golf, and they're taking and I think we see so many people that have picked up brewing as a hobby at home, and that's exactly where Nate started, and then, you know, continue to follow that and then take it to the next level, not just with his passion and excitement, but also the learning that goes along with it. Believe it or not, it's not just throwing a bunch of stuff into a tank and crossing your fingers. Yeah, and
shake it once in a while.
And as I've just said on the board here as well, I feel like almost anything that I even remotely dance around or speak of, or in any almost even tangent in talking about any of this world, has all come from the experience of being around them. We very much have talked about here. You're not much of a beverage. You're not a beer drinker at all, really, and
Zero.
I barely am, except for when discovering Scotch Ale recently. In the last couple of years, and so
now 3 times I've had to get you out of jail. It's really awkward.
Exactly.
I think they call that the drunk tank, Terry.
Well, sometimes you get yourself an old chub, and the next thing you know,
Keep it over there.
Okay. Anyway, so touching on, let's quickly touch on a few of the things that we did see this weekend. I've got the challenge at Goat Hill up in front of me. We start with the women. Lisa Fakis, your champion. Congratulations. She
making it exciting.
Making it very close and exciting. It was a very weird situation for me in that we were driving back from South Carolina, and my co-pilot, Dustin, was able to pull up Disc Golf Network on his phone, and he was watching it, and I was more so listening to the event unfold as we were driving, which was just obviously is kind of a unique scenario for me. Normally I'm at an event and or in the booth, so I'm getting it more of a firsthand. Here I'm taking it in like everyone else was. And yeah, Lisa sounds like she made things very interesting coming down the stretch. It became very quickly, it looked like a 2-woman race between Lisa and Owen, as Owen was 5 in front of Weiss, and then Weiss, who had tied with the young superstar that we talked to earlier in the year in Holland Hanley.
Yeah, honestly, on hole 16, I think I told you this story, Mo has started talking to Gary about prepping a Lisa Fakis highlight package that we can show right after she putts out and this and that, and we assumed it was kind of over. Like, oh, all right, well, she's got this wrapped up. Well, then she goes on and 3 putts on a hole, which own birdies for a two-stroke swing, and suddenly it was a 1-stroke event, and all of us kind of had to get back on our game that last hole, where we couldn't quite just coast in. We actually had to kind of, like, all right, we need to make sure that we're not just, normally we're like, okay, at this point, focus on Lisa, follow her down the fairway, get some great shots of her. Now it was kind of like, no, this is really a game. We need to make sure, because this could easily go the other direction. Well, thankfully for Lisa, she ends up birdieing the final hole and just,
closing the door.
That sealed the deal over Owen. But Owen, made a really good run of it. So, and as you said, Holland Hanley, just continuing to watch her ascend in the sport. And again, I think when we talked to her here, she had said that, one of her strengths is distance. This course does, even though Owen is up top, and I wouldn't necessarily ever call her a distance thrower.
Sure.
This course is a thrower's course. There's danger to be had, but we had a really interesting statistic on the broadcast about strokes gained from tee to green was actually very small compared to other courses. So while it is a thrower's course, you do need to throw far. That's not where everybody was gaining strokes. I mean, they were probably gaining strokes over the people who could not throw as far, but really this course for the top pros was won on the green. Everybody was probably getting to the green in, we'll say, 2 throws on most holes. A lot of par 4s out here. And after that, you had to make sure to hit your putt. You had to stay in bounds. You had to, those are the things. So the tee to green actually wasn't a huge factor relative to each other. I mentioned earlier how we saw, the ultimate players show up. We had Ella Hansen. I think they call her One Throw Ella or something.
Okay.
I think that's her nickname.
Okay.
There's
that one I'm not familiar with yet.
Well, but I heard Charlie mention it. I think it was
Okay.
One Throw Ella. He mentioned it a few times. I'm sorry that if I'm messing it up, but ultimately, she has distance. Like you can look at her form and say that's an ultimate player's form. She doesn't. Like when Paige Pierce throws, it's a straight follow through.
Sure.
Ella has really good distance, but you can tell. They call it rounding. I don't know any of the terms. I don't throw, but
or run.
or run. I could catch though. I could stand there and catch.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Ella, faded down towards the final round because she was on the lead card. I think she's one of those people that if she sticks with disc golf, and I don't know what her plan is in general once COVID strikes, but she could be a top 10 competitor, and it'll be interesting to see some of these women who are playing ultimate.
Yeah, and I know that the little I had heard of Ella, and I don't think I've met her in person yet, is that she throws a long way. She's a very powerful thrower, and I believe she's in fact has been was picked up not too long ago by Discmania.
Yep.
So let's put it this way. Usually there's no short arms on Team Discmania when you think about it that way. So very cool. Also, did I see Leah Sinigini, I believe, was competing, who's also an ultimate player as well.
Yeah,
so
she's a convert. She took 12th.
Yes, and I've seen her everywhere on tour. One of my favorite personalities to interact with out there on the road. She's been an absolute blast. Every time I run into her, she's a lot of fun and hilarious. I've now seen her I saw her in Florida a few weeks ago. Then I saw her in Kansas, and I think there was another event. And so she's getting out there everywhere, and I think you're going to continue to see her climb up leaderboards as well, which is really cool. So that's what we saw. And then we mentioned earlier with Val, we are talking about just seeing Juliana Korver in a competitive fashion out there tying for 9th. I feel like that's a story in itself. Yeah, what an awesome inspiration, I think, for everybody. And it just speaks to how timeless her and her skills have been, that she shows up and is cashing at, in
the open field.
In the open field and an Elite Series event, a Silver Series event. Yes, a couple of our top players weren't there, but just incredible.
Not to bring this negative, her big downfall is going to be her distance, that she doesn't have the distance that these newer women have, because she didn't need it back in the day. As we know, the courses were not as long and grueling as we're seeing in today's day and age, but she has the consistency and just the technique and the form and the putting that she can keep up with some of these women. It's going to be on some of these courses difficult for her to, if she's going to continue to play in the open field, and I don't know if she will or not, or if this is just a unique one-off, or if she's going to go to the Masters, where I think she can probably dominate the Masters now, I don't want to say easily, because there's some good competition there as well, but she will easily be competitive in that field, hands down. But ultimately, I think if she has aspirations of playing in FPO constantly, distance, I don't know if I have to say it might be something she needs to work on at this point. Like I don't know if you at this point if it's worthwhile for her to work, quote unquote, work on distance or just hone in on her skills that she's very good at and keeping it in the fairway up the middle, which is what she was known for.
Well, she is playing again this weekend. We saw that the course measures somewhere around like, I don't know, 9,500 feet, 9,400 feet. It's going to be a long course this weekend. And as of right now, looking at it, she is about, out of the 37 women, she's, just short of, just past maybe a third in terms of her rating at 925. Puts her right, coincidentally, right next to who we just mentioned, Holland Hanley at 926.
So, Corver, top 10 this week?
Let's look at the other women. I would not be surprised.
No,
I don't know why she
nor
wouldn't.
I mean, there's some tough names to get past up there.
There are, but
some very consistent players.
I could very much see her finishing in the top 10 again this weekend. So, yeah, it'll be exciting to watch.
And I like her chances on this, as we mentioned, this course, which is really it's anybody's game because it's a new course. It's not like you've had a lot of experience. Like, Paige Pierce can go to Waco and be like, oh yeah, I know this course inside and out. This is new for everybody. So we're going to really see we're going to see how well people prep. I think that's going to be very important, learning this course over the next couple of days. It's a little different. We're going to see that a few times this year, which I'm excited about, some new courses.
Okay. Also, so then moving over to the MPO side, that Wysocki fella, I don't know.
I mean, he's all right. My favorite part, and I don't know if you were able to catch the end of them MPO.
I don't think I was able to pay full attention.
So, final hole. I mean, Ricky has it wrapped up. We all know it. We all know it with like 5 or 6 holes to go that he's not letting go of this one. I mean, it was pretty obvious. Get to the final hole. Ricky throws it up there. I think he threw out of bounds, actually, on his first throw. Second throw puts it, I don't know, 35 to 40 out. Everybody else throws up there. They're all within like 10 feet. Everybody went out and tapped in before him. He's at a 40-footer, and they tapped in because they knew he was winning. He walks up and drains it. And he even said, he's like, it
felt weird.
The whole tradition. It looked weird. Yeah. Like he kind of walked up and then it backed off, and everyone else went and tapped out. And then he just goes in, and he's like, yeah, I knew I wasn't laying it up. I didn't want to take a bogey because he hadn't gotten a bogey all weekend. If I remember correctly, if I look at the... I'm sorry, he did. Hole 1 on round 2, he had a single...
Yeah, that was his only bogey.
It was his only bogey. But he had said in the interview, I wasn't going to take a bogey.
Yeah.
So everybody taps out from inside 10. Ricky walks to his 40-footer and drains it.
Wow.
I laughed in the studio at that because I'm like, what's he do? Like, he could just lay it up. But no, that wasn't Ricky's style. As opposed to someone like... on the FPO side, why am I drawing up?
You're thinking about last week?
Yeah.
When they went out a turn?
Yeah, when they went out a turn, and
where were we last weekend?
No, I'm thinking for the DDO.
Oh. Okay.
Who?
Yeah. I'm totally drawing a blank.
Someone on the board help me. Why am I blanking out on her name? She's from Wisconsin.
Oh,
Haley King. Haley King.
Yeah, when she went out of order.
Yeah, when she went out of order. Because she didn't want to tap out. God, it's a senile moment here. Wow. I couldn't think of Haley King's name for a minute. Yeah, so Haley absolutely just...
when she went out of order.
She went in order,
so to speak,
but out of order tradition because that's her style. I think that's actually even what she's going to be doing constantly. If she's out, she's going.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't care. Like, she's just, I want to win. I want to be done. Let's drain this putt. Because I remember Mo got frustrated because he's like, no, like, that's not, like, you tap in and you get the interview. But no, she hits a putt and then kind of walks away. And everyone else has to tap in for second, third, and fourth. So, anyway, back to MPO. Ricky, like I said, taking this one down. Anthony Barella, he throws far.
Yeah.
Like, watching that kid throw, no shock, is amazing. Gavin Rathbun takes third. I'm going to mess this one up, but fourth place, Cade Philomohela.
Phil Mahala.
Phil Mahala. Thank you. Well, sure. Are you sure about that?
No.
Okay. Cade taking fourth. Fifth place, Drew Gibson, tied with Jordan Castro, who we saw on the board earlier tonight. Hi, Jordan. Seventh place, Ian Burchett. Eighth place, Clint Calvin, tied with Double G and Ezra Aderhold and Dustin Keegan and Brody Smith. So that is, and then Brody Smith ended up winning a playoff to get the USDGC over Dustin Keegan.
Okay.
So that was your MPO. Brody had a rough third round. Started out not so hot.
Okay.
Finding the OB quite a few times. He had to dig himself out of a hole very early on in the round. He'd taken a 7 on the third hole, a couple pars. He missed some easy putts, and then a bogey on hole 7. So he was very. It felt very quickly, but he was 4 over par at one point. So he did fight back to get to 3 under. He finished off very strong.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you could just tell it wasn't his day to start out with. So
yeah, finished with 5 birdies, but then as I'm looking at the first 7 holes, like you said, I think he was maybe 4 over at that point or something like that. A lot of pars where you see a ton of people taking birdies in those first few holes. You see, like, I look at a Luke Humphreys who birdied the first 5 holes in a row.
And they're all like,
yeah.
For these guys that can throw this, these are almost all birdie holes.
Sure.
Like Ricky showed, Ricky had I want to say a rough hole 1. I think he missed a putt or something. Yeah, he missed a circle 1 putt to take par.
Sure.
On hole 1, but they're all gettable. And Brody he struggled. I mean, you could see
I see
it.
A double OB on what looks like hole.
Yeah, that double OB was dumb. Like
Okay.
he made a poor choice. He ran at a putt on a basket on a hill, surrounded by OB. He went OB to the left on the approach, and then from the OB's position, he ran at a putt from a basket on a hill, which he blew past and went like 40 deep into another OB. He cost himself some strokes, and that's just being aggressive. Dumb's probably a wrong word for it. Being very aggressive, maybe feeling like he needed to keep up or make up some strokes. With the wind the way it was and everything, I think the smart move there would have just been to lay up, but I'm not in his shoes. He was on the lead card, not me, so hard for me to say. But, it's hindsight is easy when you look at a 7 and you say he should have done this. So,
and as the board is saying, Cade is a beast. He's only 17, and he's just getting better and better. I'll follow that up and say every time I was in Arizona this year, Cade's name was always around the conversation in terms of some of the good golf that was being played out there. Now, it didn't fall into the cards that I actually got a chance to film him for a round that he was on, or he wasn't on a card that I was filming. But I feel like the last 2 or 3 times I've been in Arizona spanning the last 6 months, his name has always been right there. So clearly a name to continue to watch for, and we'll hear more about. And I don't even think I realized that he was 17. So thank you, Andrew, for the info there. Pretty crazy. Wow. So that's what we saw over at Challenge at Goat Hill, Silver Series event. And I don't know. Do you have any other storylines that come out of there that are pressing that we're seeing?
Not really.
Are you sold on golf? I mean, we saw it back-to-back weekends in that, we see the country club we finished out DDO for 2 rounds, which we've seen a number of years now, the country club. And then, a lot of people had the 23-hour trek over to San Diego to see this course. And I'm going to be the first to admit, I did not really literally watch a minute of it because I was obviously filming stuff this weekend myself. So I can't say a word about the course.
This didn't feel, I'll say this about the course. This didn't feel like a golf course kind of course.
Okay.
Like it was, nary a tree in sight on the course, but there was a lot of elevation.
I heard one of our cameramen say that
yes,
there was a ton of elevation out there.
So,
and he would know more than anyone. So thank you, Sam.
Yeah, they hike up and down that thing. So while most people think of golf as a little bit more flat, this particular course had a lot of elevation, throwing up and down hills and hiking up and down the hills. So it didn't feel as much like a golf course style course. I guess it technically still is, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it was a fine course. I don't know. I don't know. Again, we've said here before, I don't get a chance. I'm switching golf, but I'm not watching golf, and
Sure.
I'm not listening to commentators, and I'm really focused in on cameras. But from what I could see, it didn't appear to be much like a true golf course style as we have known it. So there's that.
Okay. 303. I'll quickly move over there and my boy Dave. Dave, I know you're out there watching, man. I was pulling for you all weekend. Dave Wastebloom, one of our favorite smashies out there, was playing in one of his first competitive events in a couple of years, playing in that, I think that MP50 division. Dave not able to pull off the win, but I was pulling for you, Dave. 303 sounded like that ended in somewhat exciting fashion. Kyle Klein, young superstar, managing to take down home state superstars, not just in Eagle McMahon, but also another potential favorite to win in Joe Revere. And so the fact that he was able to best them, I think that's honestly, that was a question in the car ride for us as I believe we're heading down to South Carolina was, is this Eagles event, obviously in his home state, he's back home, all that kind of stuff. Joe Revere, again, obviously a front runner in that conversation. Is it going to be Eagle or Joe? Turned out to be Kyle Klein picking up another significant win here. So
Young gun. He's, I want to say, I kind of want to say like, yeah, he's one to look out for. That's the dumbest thing because everybody's looking out for him already.
No,
he's not sneaking up on anybody this year or probably ever again.
Yeah, no, he's past that. When you have tour support discs released on websites, you no longer get to fly under the radar for what you've done. But I will quickly read off. Kyle Klein, your champion. Congratulations to him. 1 stroke over Eagle McMahon, Joel Freeman, Nathan Queen, Alan Wagner taking all in the top 5 spots. So congrats to them.
He didn't even have to go to prom to win this one.
I know. It was an easy weekend for him.
I mean, maybe he did. Maybe he went to a different prom.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that wasn't the storyline.
Yeah, that'd be funny to. Yeah,
he just finds local proms in areas around this time of year.
He's crashing local proms.
He's a good-looking young kid. I don't think he'd have a problem finding a date.
I think Cynthia Ricciotti would have take issue with that. Unfortunately,
maybe she's crashing with him.
Okay.
I mean, she looks like you could just say, "Oh no, I'm kind of new to this school." Maybe you just sneak right in.
Callie McMorrin taking down the victory, besting Erica Weir. I believe, yes, I remember seeing Sunday morning that Erica had the lead, and it looks like Callie said, hang on a second, I'd like to challenge that, and then some. So Callie having a strong final round to, in fact, take down the victory. She shot 967 golf to then win it by 3. So congratulations to her over Erica Weir. Yeah, so very cool to see some 303 action taking place out there. Dave, just 1 spot out of the cash, my friend. He did call me the night before. He's like, how do I use this PDGA scoring thing?
No.
And should I download UDisc? How do we do a backup scorecard? I'm like, oh, Dave. He got it all figured out. So,
coming to the Midwest, the Rumble presented by Iron Lion Disc Golf Supply. Touring Pro, we can say it now. Touring Pro. Ben Calloway wins this one in a playoff over Andrew Presnell. So congratulations, taking home $1,400. Shooting some pretty good golf. 1068 to start, dipped a little bit at 1004, but came back with a 1022. Was able to beat out Andrew. 3rd place was Corey Ellis. 4th place was Isaac Elias, tied with Terry Roethlisberger. Tied for 6th place was Jonathan Propolis and Riley Brennan. So congratulations to all those guys. What was that?
Brenner.
I'm sorry, Brenner. The surprise, honestly, for me is the next grouping of guys, which is a tied for 8th, which is Paul Ullman.
Call him out.
Cale LaVisca and Mitchell Prevette. Just the fact that Cale...
8th place, a tie.
I'm just saying, I have high expectations for that young man. I think he's got a future in the sport, and to see him in 8th place. So we saw Cale take 8th, tied with Tall Paul, one of my favorite guys. Whoops, almost skipped. Oh, yeah. All right, there was no FPO field, so Pro Masters.
That's shocking.
Yeah. Chris
I
Sprague.
did not know that.
Congratulations, Chris Sprague. It is like 1,200th win or something.
That sounds about right.
Guy wins a lot. So
He certainly does.
Beating up Jonathan Baldwin.
Yes, and by a stroke. Yes, and Chris is one of those guys that has done so much for obviously overall Iowa disc golf and Illinois disc golf, and awesome to see him out there doing his thing. What I find interesting, rewind 6 months ago or rewind a year ago, and everyone be perfectly clear on this. This is no slight. But rewind 6 months ago, and we announced the winner being the Rumble, Ben Calloway. You nor I are surprised.
No.
We've known Ben because he's within a few hours of us, and I don't even bat an eye at that.
Nope.
I don't even think twice about that. Like, oh yeah, no big deal. Ben won. I'm not surprised
because he would have been categorized as what I call the regional pro.
Certainly, and now it's great. It's what I find great and uplifting is. Now you call off his name, and so many of our listeners and so many people literally around the country are like, "Oh yeah, I know Ben." Like, the rise and the notoriety and the successes that he's experienced as of late. It's awesome to see it blossom because again, I've known Ben for 10+ years and always known him to be a good player. In fact, there's somewhere where I have footage of him playing 5 years ago, probably. So. It's awesome to see that he goes and then wins this weekend, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Ben!" Like everybody now knows who Ben is. He's just like that. How much he's become a household name. So, congratulations to him. Solid performance, solid weekend out there. And then I'm going to move over to something a little more near and dear to my heart, and my. And my foot in terms of driving and the overall weekend. Brian and Todd down there in Central South Carolina, as in Central the city or the town, not the geographic location of it. In Central South Carolina, it was the Huck Central presented by Southern Wesleyan University. It was the pro weekend, and a couple heavy hitters and some great storylines coming out of there. So this whole weekend, I thought about how we have so many players spread out to so many great areas. Like the entire country was treated with some great golf. And then on top of it, in addition to all of that, the WGE taking place. But spoiler alert, if you're waiting for my coverage, you may want to turn it off now for a moment. But in a very, very great battle, Chris Dickerson, Paul McBeth going head-to-head with the CDIC Slayer coming out on top, taking things down, playoff, all that good stuff. I've got it all for you. Anthony Anselmo, a young superstar as well. I believe he's 14 or 15. Again, another guy I hear about and have talked about, but haven't had it hasn't triggered yet for him to be on the card for me to film. He takes third with an incredible final round, besting every other player in the MPO division on that final round. Let's see what it was rated, just out of curiosity. It was rated 1052, which probably feels low. Michael Joe and Andrew Fish in a tie for fourth. Another superstar. I'm going to say it right here and now, folks. Another young gun that I saw out there this weekend that you're going to hear more about. So mark the tape, whatever you do. Evan Scott. Absolute superstar.
He's got a 5-digit PDGA. He's been around forever.
yeah, at the ripe old age of 16.
Yeah.
Just incredible. And I do have footage of him. He worked himself onto the lead card for the second round with McBeth, with Dickerson, with MJ. And then there's this 16-year-old. And it's funny to think of, what Chris Dickerson probably being the other youngest guy on the card, the next youngest guy. Absolutely incredible. Great to see the kid. Great poise. Some really terrible luck that is almost it's heartbreaking to watch. I'll spoil that much for you, but definitely a young superstar in the making at the age of 16. He was 1 or 2 off of Paul and Dickerson in the first round. Yeah, he was 2 off of Paul and tied with Dickerson and Johansson. So he clearly has some serious game. And so, like I said, mark the tape, come back in a couple years, and you're like, oh, Terry was talking about that kid. Yeah, he's pretty damn good. And then taking it down on the FPO side, unfortunately, it was a very small battle between the two. It sounded like a few withdrawals late, but we saw world champion Sarah Cunningham.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for you to chime in with Stanhope. Sarah Cunningham.
No, I wasn't chiming in at all because I figured it was either a setup for something or I'm just like, no, you that's...
Sarah Cunningham, your 2010 women's world champion. I have to think back to the exact year. That was the same year as EMAC. Which would have been in Crown Point, Indiana. I think I have footage out there somewhere, probably. That was my first year of vlogging. So she bested Hannah Macbeth when it was all said and done. And a huge shout out. They both got paid out, even in a 2 women's division. And then I got to throw it in there. Barry Schultz, Wisconsin transplant, who's now not been in Wisconsin for many years, but taking down the MP40 division, even though he's eligible for the next oldest division. Took it down handedly with a score that was certainly competitive in the realm of the MPO scores, for sure. So awesome, incredible event. Those guys did a great job. I want to thank Todd and Brian for inviting us to be part of the coverage. I want to give the quick update on that. I actually have everything. We got more coverage than we were even contracted to do. I was super excited about it. I've got more than 2/3 of it edited. I'm waiting on some drone previews. And when those come in, probably tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to throw those into the footage. And then it'll probably be just a full release now at this point, since we're already a couple days away from OTB. You'll probably just see everything come out starting, we'll say, next Monday. And then I'll be able to release it because I don't want to release a day or two. And then OTB gets in the mix of things, as it should. And then all of a sudden, momentum is lost and it becomes disjointed, and then it doesn't get followed. So there'll probably be a full, fresh release of a ton of coverage starting on Monday. So pretty awesome weekend. Huge shout out to Dustin. Huge shout out to Dylan. we left South Carolina at 5:01. I think it was 5:01, and pulled into Milwaukee at about 4 something in the morning, and pretty much drove straight through that night. And then Dustin went to work a couple hours, an hour later, and worked a full day, and then went and played League. Yeah. So those guys, huge shout out to them. Couldn't have done it without them. So, and also another quick shout out, Ish from Down South Disc Golf also stepped up as a very significant supporter and sponsor of the weekend's coverage. So Down South Disc Golf doing amazing things, running a ton of tournaments in the area. Okay.
That's great.
That's what we got.
Yeah. The only PDGA news really is that the board candidates are being sought for the 2021 PDGA election. So if you're interested in
I'm running.
Go for it, Terry.
It's the only running I'm doing these days is running for a board position.
Well, maybe.
Should I?
You could.
Should I? No.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Let's wait on that. And we'll run together. We'll wait till run against each other. We'll see.
That wouldn't be a good idea.
No, that wouldn't.
No, it would be a good idea if that doubles our chances of getting in.
Yeah, I mean,
and then really shaking
some stuff up right up the tree. Just
that's what we do.
Yeah. Listen, Mr. Chargaloff, I'll tell you what's going on. I don't know.
Probably not.
No, not at all. Yeah. So board candidates. Last time I think they did this, they had 14 candidates for board members, something like that. So please, by all means, if you're interested and you're qualified, even if you're not qualified,
throw your name in there.
Throw your name out there so we can laugh at you.
Yeah.
But specifically, if you're qualified, please go seek out a board position.
Oh, and before I move too quickly away from this weekend's results. You want to know who else won this weekend?
The great state of South Carolina, because you were there.
Close. In North Carolina, there's your hint.
Oh, it's got to be Schwebe.
Yeah.
What, number 297? 298?
Something like that. I don't even know. I think 297 comes to mind. I believe that's what it was, but yeah. He won, so congratulations to him, and also winning her regional in Durham.
Does that count as a
Durham? I feel like it. I don't know.
Click on her name once.
Well, in theory, it should. Elaine King bested her local division.
She's at 299 now.
Yeah, Elaine King bested her local division at her WGE Valley Girls at Valley Springs. So she's at 299 total wins. And that Schwebe fella,
I think he's at 297.
that sounds about right. I know he's on the board. Where are you?
He was earlier.
Was he?
Yeah, no, he was on it. He tunes into Twitch now.
Oh, of course he does.
Because he's a Twitcher.
Is that an insult?
He's a little twitchy.
Brian Schweberger, just to get it all correct, 296 is what he's listed at. Ouch, just 296.
Jeez. He's falling behind Elaine King hard and fast.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, he took down the 2021 OBX Open. So, thought that was
slacker.
It's the race.
Oh, Elaine's got it. I mean,
yeah, there's no way she's not getting to 300 before him.
No. Not happening.
I don't know. All right, guys, I think that's all we have for the regular show. I think we've covered everything we need to. We talked beer. We talked pretzels. We talked didgeridoos. We talked about your winners, all your winners, some of you not being winners, but most of you that we talked about were winners.
You know who are winners?
Our Patreon subscribers. Yeah.
People who support us on Patreon. Because you know why?
Because they can win free stuff every week,
Last week we gave away a disc member box. Do you know what we're giving away this week? Another disc member box.
No way. Don't do it. Don't do it, Johnny.
Yeah. Another disc member
I want
box.
it. What's in it?
I don't know. But I got one really quickly after I got that one. So I don't know if
that one's probably meant for me then.
I don't think so, Terry Miller. No. So I don't know if just that one came late, this one came early. I don't know. Or
all right.
Somehow I got an extra one, but we're giving away this tonight. Another disc member box.
Another one.
So this is like at least a $40 value if you want to be a disc member person and just get this every week like I do. It costs you like $25 a month. And you get plastic. It might be the only way for you to get plastic right now. Because it's tough to buy. It's tough to get plastic these days.
It is. But I have a little more, so if you want to buy some from me too, I can sell you some and some boxes. All right, guys. We thank you to our Patreon subscribers, and even more so, thank you to Valerie Jenkins for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure to have her. Looking forward to the next couple of weekends, including this weekend's OTB, of course, on the Disc Golf Network. That'll be there on Friday and Saturday exclusively. And then Sunday, you can tune into the Disc Golf Network and tune into it on YouTube. Get them both up there so we can pump up those numbers and show everybody that you guys love watching live disc golf. And then the very following week, myself, Hannah, Val, bringing you some action over at the women's championships, and super excited to do that as well. Yeah, next week I'll probably be coming to you from somewhere in California. I won't be here sitting next to you. I'll be in Cali, bro.
Going back to Cali.
Yeah, where you won't be. I'm looking forward to it.
I will not be there.
All right, everyone. Stick around for the after show. We've got a disc member box to give away. We've got some other silliness probably in the works. And we'll talk about disc golf and non-disc golf related things there. But for now, we're going to sign off the regular show. For Johnny V, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, along with women's 4-time world champion Valerie Jenkins. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the after show. You step inside the Smash Box.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV. I thought I'd bring it out of the vault.
Yeah, you really threw me off. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Smashbox TV's podcast 349's After Show. Really bringing that the intro there for all of our video watchers. Bringing that intro, as you said, out of the vault.
Somebody says, "Ooh, fancy."
Yeah.
Fancy Graphic is back.
It is. So is Dave Wastebloom. Dave, I was talking about you earlier. Love you too, buddy. And I'm glad to see you're out there watching along in Colorado. Dave, in fact, was one of those people that I was having the conversation with regard to, the 303 Open champion and if Eagle McMahon was beatable and if Joe Rovier was going to be the guy. And then you see Joel Freeman and others up there contending, and in slides Kyle Klein. Bing, bang, boom. Nice work, Kyle. And he had to make a significant putt on the last hole to take the victory by one, is what I've been told. So very, very cool to see. All right. How
So you went and bought discs between our show. So that we ended the show not 2 minutes ago.
Yep.
You hopped on the Innova factory store.
Uh-huh.
You found some Tour Series discs.
Yep.
You quickly bought a handful of them.
25.
And then we started the show, after show. I mean, that's that's multitasking.
I got to get
right
work
there.
done here. I got to get work done.
Productivity.
To be fair, somebody on the board said something or other about Big Germ Thunderbirds, which are usually somewhat sought after. And it made me think, hey, has Innova dropped any other Tour Series stuff on their website, which I frequent. I'm a collector of said discs usually. And I was out there earlier today. There was nothing out of the ordinary that I haven't seen available before. And added recently, this is your exclusive here, folks, for the live listeners, were more of the Galactic Valerie Mundahano AVRs. They were not there earlier today. So I picked up an eighth of what was available. I believe it said a few minutes ago there was 200 available, and I may have picked up 25 of those. Is that an eighth? Now there's down to 155 in stock. So,
okay,
great looking AVRs. I feel like there's one I should.
They look
be
like
throwing.
melted crayons.
Yeah, yep. That's kind of that makes sense. That's kind of the galactic look to it.
Is that like a thing?
Yeah, it's been a thing for a little while. I think we've seen at one point Jessica Weiss had a galactic disc, as it was deemed. Yeah, and also looks like they, depending on which one you get, it looks like they could very easily be camouflaged and lost as well.
Oh, sure.
I mean, they're sharp looking from, when you're just looking at it, but
yeah.
Think about throwing that in the wrong season. And
you
think about going to your bag and finding another one.
You throw that in autumn, and that's that in northern Wisconsin. That thing's gone.
Yeah. So, yes, I did manage to go out and pick up a couple. Those will then get stashed away and likely stored for years, and then hopefully someday someone will come along and say, "Oh, I love that run. I'd love to buy one from you for $50." And I'll say, "Okay, I'll let one go." I only have 24 left. All right, let's see what else is on the board. As always, in the after show, we'd love to interact with you guys if you're coming in at us from the after show. Some questions talking about, was Big Germ actually mad in the GK Pro Skins match, or was he just faking it? I did not see that, so I can't speak to that. Maybe somebody else on the board can.
Ray actually follows up and says, Germ says he was a little annoyed in the moment and didn't catch on to Nate continuing a long-running joke between them. It was just Nate was like berating Germ for talking too much. Which, if there's something that's Germ's going to get yelled at for, it's probably going to be that. They were in the middle of a Skins match.
He's berating him for that?
Well, I mean, they work together a lot. I'm sure Nate gets sick of... No, I think they were saying something, and Nate was making some joke about how, dude, they have to edit this, so shut up. Like, they have to cut out or whatever. And it was just a joke, and apparently, there was a tinge of hurt feelings for a second there, and then And then they kissed and made up
That's
with
adorbs.
masks because it's COVID.
Yeah, that's adorable. Ray says, LOL, Paige shoe cutout was the last straw for Mrs. Miller. Paige has made it into storage. She is safe in my storage facility. Just don't take that excerpt. Don't
clip
take that out of
anywhere.
context. But yes, Paige shoe is definitely in my storage facility, where she is safe, surrounded by dis, and she'll be just fine.
Dust on the Board did his first coverage, his first post-production commentating. He did it on the City of Mobile Championship. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in hearing a new voice behind the mic, check it out. He has a lot of experience in the esports arena, so you can tell that he has some professional chops. I listened to the first half of the video that he linked to it, and you can find it in our Discord, or just look for So Blue Productions and give him some feedback. Let him know what you liked. Let him know what you didn't like. If you hate his voice, definitely tell him to change his voice completely. But overall, I thought he did a pretty good job. So another person to look out for. Terry
Awesome.
Miller. Someone's going to take your job.
He can have it.
Okay.
I will bring that back actually momentarily, and I know we have this discussion somewhat frequently. I will say the coverage that I'm putting out for Huck Central, if it conveniently works out that I have a co-commentator readily available at my, I don't want to say my beck and call, but readily available and accessible this weekend, it will be with someone. And if I don't, it's going to be solo, because I'm just pre-warning. I'm not going to hesitate or procrastinate in any way, shape, or form, waiting for additional commentary to come in. I want that freshly released come next Monday. So it may be solo. Scout Recycler says, got a Scotch Ale care package waiting for you, Terry, when you get out here to California. Now you're talking my language. I mean, only if it's barrel aged. I'm going to become a real beer snob.
Wow.
Yeah, it needs to be bourbon barrel aged. I don't even know what that means. I do, but no, I appreciate that, and looking forward to it. Any thoughts on how PP and Lazat will place at OTB? Probably well. For at least one of them.
I think they're good golfers.
Yeah, I mean, Paige, if you follow her Instagram, she's doing a lot of things, and she's now back. She's in California. I think she posted that said she found all her friends and all the vans lined up for the weekend, and she's back, and hopefully she's refreshed and has a clear mind, body, soul, all that good stuff, and I'm sure, knowing Paige, like a couple weeks off of not competitively going up against her peers, I think that alone drives her. Like, I think just missing, just the sheer thought of missing competitive play, I think drives her. And so I am excited to see.
Is there going to be more talk? Let's say she finishes third or fourth. Is there going to be more talk about Paige Pierce and her performance? That she's not focused, that she's not playing well, that there's something wrong. I mean, whether or not it's the case or whether or not it's true,
I guess it depends. Does she get outplayed?
Yeah.
Does
someone?
Yeah. Does somebody play
shoot 1,000 rated golf the entire weekend?
And just is unbeatable. I mean, that's obviously conceivable. Yeah. Or does she play well below her levels and therefore then doesn't win? Yeah, I think we'll have
I
to
don't
answer
even
that
know what
question.
her levels are right now, because they're
not as consistent as they used to be. That's for sure.
I mean, she had that 996 or whatever rating, and now she's dropped down to like 976, or I believe the ratings came out today. I didn't really look, but I saw that she's still, I think, the highest rated woman in the world, but significantly lower than what she was. So I don't know what to expect. I expect her to be competitive. I expect her to play well. I expect her to give it her all, and I expect her to be in the hunt for the win come that final round.
Well, and then you think about the course. I don't know how much OB is there.
There is plenty of OB.
Okay, we know that she's self-admitted to find, maybe sometimes keeping herself within the OB lines. However, the distance component of it is clearly going to be no disadvantage to her as one of the longest throwers in the game. So I'll be excited to see. I'm very excited to see her compete. I'm excited to see the course this weekend as well. Andrew, happy birthday. It's your 37th birthday, and you'd love a Smash box. Wow, shout out. Andrew, happy birthday. We love
Happy
it.
birthday, Andrew.
Um,
Simon, is this
Simon?
Is this? I mean,
it's
so hard to say because Simon,
he's got built-in excuses, which is nice, and not that he'd provide them, but
No.
he's been rusty, he's been injured. Who knows if he's been playing at 100%? I did reach out to him earlier today. He was just tonight traveling to the event. What is it, Tuesday? So that gives him Wednesday and Thursday to see the course and play it. Someone of his skill level, I would assume that should be plenty. But so I guess take that for what you will. He was flying out tonight, and I don't believe he was landing within daylight hours. So he'll have Wednesday and Thursday to see the course. That's what I can add about that.
Will Floyd Mayweather beat the snot out of the Paul kid?
Oh my gosh. I've said this before. I don't know. I know more than I want to know about Logan Paul or Jake Paul, unfortunately. The persona, the imagery that they have given to me means I absolutely cannot stand them. And I know they're YouTubers. They're insanely successful YouTubers, which they've parlayed into all these other successful business ventures. Their sheer personalities, and I hate to use I don't hate to use the all too common phrase of cringe. They make me cringe. They seem like terrible humans. Now, I could be dead wrong, clearly. And it doesn't really matter what I think.
They've done some terrible things.
They have done some terrible things, and they seem like just they come off as terrible human beings. So for all of that, I can't speak to Floyd Mayweather and his presence other than the little I've seen because I don't follow much boxing.
Well,
but
let me tell you this: Floyd Mayweather is also a terrible human being.
I've heard that as well.
Now, if you watch it, you're watching two terrible human beings hit each other. My guess is that Mayweather is a showman. He will dance around, throw some punches for a few rounds, and when he's ready, he's just gonna pop the kid and it's gonna be done.
Yeah,
that's
I
my
hope
guess.
To God,
because that's kind of the way Mayweather has always been. He's a showman, first and foremost. He's a great boxer, but he's just. I think he's gonna play around.
He's got so much more to lose. Doesn't he have like a 50-0 or 51-0 record? Like he's never lost a fight in his life.
He's also he has rarely fought someone at the top of their game.
Well, and for God's sakes, this YouTuber who has turned into a solid, who has turned into at least a formidable boxer, from what others have said. I'd be so embarrassed for Mayweather if he did lose.
He's not gonna lose,
but I don't think he's going to.
No.
Yeah, and as maybe others on the board have said, and again, Johnny nor I follow boxing
very, very, very little.
outside of headlines, but it's a matter of which bigger piece of trash do you want winning? I mean, they both can't lose, unfortunately, right?
Well, they both hit each other like a Rocky moment.
Yeah, I suppose.
Maybe, but
all right. Well, Ray says small bore outlaw has stopped including disc golf guy clips in his videos. Small W there. They still use some DGPT round clips, but no more Terry. I'm trying to remember if we ever had a conversation or not directly. I don't remember other than me just talking about it on the show. I honestly don't recall, but the PSA for the whole world in general is if you want to use clips, it's always polite to reach out to any creator of any kind
and ask.
That's always a good start. The Paul kid seems to have lots of built-up anger and stress. He's just, unfortunately, I think he's just trash as a human.
Seth Hayes says, we need more villains in disc golf.
Do we?
I don't know.
I mean, I understand that some people love to rally behind them and
rally to root against them.
Sure.
Right now, if you were to take a poll and more than not, people would probably say Nico is a villain in our sport. I don't think he's a true villain.
No.
But he does some things that definitely frustrate people as far as emotional outbursts and just his timing. So it makes it feel that way.
Yeah, who would be the next one?
He's not a bad person,
No.
but that's just, that's the demeanor he can have on the course. Who would be the next one? I mean, a lot of people would have said Philo. Philo has some of the same tendencies. When he's on the course, he gets down on himself, and he takes a long time. He's not necessarily the fastest player, so some people could put, but Philo doesn't have like a mean or negative energy about him, which I think Nico can sometimes exude. But I don't know who else. Like Kat sometimes kind of comes off that way. She's very competitive, but I think that there are times that, or people, they see that in her.
Yeah, and that's that. I mean, I guess I think about what is a villain in terms of our our sport.
Yeah, I don't see any, like, knowing a lot of these people. I don't see villain, so to speak, in many of, like, I would never off the course. I can't think of really anybody that off the course I would say that person's a bad person. Like I just said about Mayweather. You can be frustrated with how they play on the course. You can be frustrated with some of the things they do. Maybe, some of their, some people don't like Austin Hannum's hot takes on Twitter. It doesn't make him a villain. I don't know who.
Yeah. I'll admit I would have a hard time placing that title.
Robert McCall's a villain. That guy's one of the nicest guys.
A villain of good hair days. I don't know. No. All right. They are all human and they don't show emotions. We get Vinny. Vinny definitely internalizes his emotions, which I think are perfectly fine as well.
Who would you like to see be a villain? Like, who should pro wrestling style turn heel? Just suddenly,
Heather Young.
Oh, good one.
Heather Young.
Just at one point, she walks by and like slaps a disc out of someone's hand.
Yeah, just mean mugging people, straight flexing on people, kind of like Macy jokingly did, but instead Heather's like serious, and Heather like growls at you when she walks up to the tee. Oh, Heather, please, please.
That would be pretty awesome.
This is what we need. We need some of that. That would be awesome. Cody asks, speaking of villains, any word when the hot dog bandit last struck?
I
have not heard of anything lately. I'm not always running around asking about hot dog stories either, but I have not heard any fresh hot dog bandit mishaps. Eagle has the makings of a future villain. He just needs to go full heel. Eagle was dressed up. Did you see that? Eagle at the block party. He was dressed up as
like a ninja of some sort, or a.
I didn't know if that was a character that I wouldn't know.
No, not particularly. Maybe he was cosplaying. Maybe he was just being super safe. And
does anybody know on the board if that was a specific character? If it was, clearly I wouldn't know who it was in reference to. I feel like it was in reference to a specific person or character. But that's above, not my world.
It's hard. I know Lee Adams says Paul is the villain, as he just made a comment on his last thing. The DDO, he's not there to make friends. It's hard to call a guy a villain when his foundation is putting in courses in Mexico and he's donating all of his winnings this year to his foundation. It's really hard to call someone a villain. I can understand his seriousness, but he doesn't feel like a villain to me. I mean, he's very dedicated to his craft, but hard to call him a villain.
Somebody just says it was anime. I didn't know if there was a specific.
Was he like Naruto running, where you put your arms behind, you run around? You don't know. Okay.
No.
So it's one of the few things I know about
not
anime.
knowing. Someone asked earlier in the board though as to if Ledgestone is going to have spectators, and I believe the answer is yes. Of course, I also don't know a lot of things, and so don't ever quote or really listen to me or take anything I say to heart, except for offering up soft pretzels. Those are something you should really look into.
But I should look into some soft pretzels.
But outside of that, I believe their
Should we
plan,
get a soft pretzel machine for the studio?
I think
no,
we
not
should.
our studio. Like the
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, that is.
We're gonna have a little kitchenette. We could get like a soft pretzel maker.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, done.
All right.
Just order one. Do you have a DGPT card?
I don't even
Order
know.
one, anyone.
I don't. I will slip it into the next order for the Amazon.
Yes. Be like, oh, we need these headphones. We need these microphones. Pretzel.
Hot pretzel maker.
Yeah. We'll just have to find one that is like cleverly named on an invoice as something else, like something like rotating something or other compressor. We'll come up with some other name for it.
We can do.
But
this.
a pretzel maker, in studio pretzel maker.
Slide that right
oh
past
my gosh. That's might be one of the smartest things you've ever said, Johnny. I'm down with that.
Okay.
All right, Jamie Kemp is on the board, and the answer is yes. Ledgestone will have spectators. Jamie, this isn't going to get too weird. I almost called you today, buddy. We've got some catching up to do, so good to see you on the board. Hope all is well down. Jamie is kind of one of the many heavily relied upon people down at Ledgestone.
And my guess is, if I know Nate Heinold, keep an eye out for the Ledgestone MVP packs or VIP packs or whatever they're called.
Have those already been sold? They might have already been sold.
Are they? I don't know.
I know I bought a player pack a long time ago.
Yeah,
It was a good deal. I couldn't pass it up.
I know that players packs were out there, but I don't know if like the spectator, like VIP packs have been. Maybe they haven't. I don't know. But if they have, too bad. You missed it. If they haven't, keep an eye out, folks.
Ray says, we can't pay this invoice for a pretzel later, Terry. I mean, we could, again, we'll find a way to, something's got to get paid for. I think pretzels are a good start. Just the rotating, like, can we hire someone just to salt them? Like lightly salted. I don't like overly salted, but you can't have them plain. Who would be in charge? Gary would be in charge. Duh, he's running the studio.
Yeah, Gary. All right.
Gary, we just found
Gary the pretzel man.
We got to get that added to his list of duties over there, hopefully. All right, Cody says they were La Paz, Mexico, stamped with his name and dynamic disc logo. Why not Discraft discs? If you're talking about the new course,
yeah.
I think Nate and/or Paul maybe at one point discussed how, they're very much. I love that the foundation that Paul's working on or is created or whatever. I love that they're not just brand specific to Discraft. I think that makes the foundation more legitimate. I think it makes it more welcoming to others. I think it allows for a greater variety of support and backing. Let's face it, we all are. There's so many of our disc golfers are in a specific camp or tribe or whatever metaphor you want to use, and they think, well, I'm not supporting that. It doesn't, do such and such. And when something like Paul and the rest of the crew there, and Nate and Dustin and all the other people that are part of it, have branched out and, I guess reach across the aisle, if we want to use like a political phrase, I think that shows inclusion. And I very much, that's probably one of my favorite things about the start. And whether that was Paul or anyone else that started a foundation that does something of that similar nature, the fact that it's not brand specific, I very much applaud. And Doug Bjerkes over at DD and all of DD, if I wore a hat, I'd tip my hat to you. I very much appreciated that. And from day one when I heard that, I thought that was a really solid move on everyone's part. It's a little bit of marketing. There's a little bit of then playing to more people. But when you're playing to more people and being more welcoming and inclusive, I think the overall concept is going to stretch that much more. So for all of those reasons, I really like it. So there's a long-winded answer to you, Cody. Andrew said we need one of those old school Snoopy shaved ice machines. I was thinking, as soon as he said a pretzel machine, I was thinking like the icy machine or something. When
you think icy machine, what do you think of?
It'd be funny if you're thinking the same thing I am. I think of Appleton,
Yep.
where we grew up, and the icy machine to me was exclusively, for me, was a staple at Kmart.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're on the same page.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
That's where the icy machine was. When you went shopping at Kmart,
Yeah.
that was you. If you got a big old icy, and that's
Yep, ices were at Kmart.
Okay.
They sometimes have big gas prices, and sometimes they'll ship your pants. They ran those.
those are good commercials.
They had those commercials for a couple of years. There was 3 of them. There was the big gas prices. There was ship your pants, and then there was one other really good play that they had. I don't remember what it was, but yes, for Johnny and I, clearly, maybe you guys can say the same if you had Kmarts in your neighborhood where 30 years ago, almost exactly, probably 30 years ago, was the Kmart the exclusive icy provider in that area.
Yeah, we're getting Cody Garner, Andrew Hinks. Maybe the Kmart had the best ices and popcorn.
Okay.
Oh, you gotta mix it. Red and blue. Go for the purple.
Oh, no. I was straight red. Spock says I shipped my pants. Yeah, I believe you did, Spock. Those ship my pants, big gas prices. That's going to drive me crazy what their other one was. But I thought they had 3 of them that were all solid a few years ago.
How's that working out for him?
Martha Stewart it has her own problems.
Not anymore. She's doing pretty well.
I bet she is.
She's hanging out with Snoop a lot lately.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you had a chance to, I mean, except
they're
for
like
being
besties.
except for being on that terrible program where the Askren Paul fight was on. What is that network that they've started?
Triller.
Yeah, Triller. Thank you. That.
I remember Triller faster than I remembered Haley King's name. That is very sad tonight.
Wow, you must have icy brain. Too much icy too quickly. Yes, and Darren, of course, your Kmart had a Little Caesars in it as well, as did ours.
Yeah.
Pizza. Of course. The very they went hand in hand. Nate says we have a Kmart, but you would get icy and popcorn at Target around here.
What?
Well, what now? Maybe. I mean, is your Kmart still standing? And are you getting your ices and your popcorn at Target today? Because I don't know if you were doing that 30 years ago.
Target was barely existent 30 years ago. I don't even remember Target 30 years ago.
I mean, they were the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
And it was bougie because my mom called it Target, as all moms did, right?
All moms did, yeah.
Definitely fancy. Yes, cola ices were the worst flavor. I agree with you on that one, Tim. All right, Randy says this is a little more serious. It says tour is on the West Coast and gas shortage seems to be on the East Coast, but any worry about gas shortages could affect tour players. What's the deal? What is the deal with gas?
Do you want to know?
Big gas prices.
So there were some hackers, I believe they were Russian hackers, that hacked a pipeline and
literally, physically, literally hacked a pipeline.
Some sort of computer that controlled the pipeline.
Okay.
Some sort of ransomware shut them down so that, and I believe they had to shut down the whole production. There's one major pipeline that runs up the East Coast. So,
ouch.
Yeah, and apparently you can go out and look, and these guys were like, "Yeah, we're sorry about that. Our goal is not to have any. Our goal is not to basically screw with your society. Our goal is to take your money. We want your money. We don't want to mess with the whole social stuff." And but yeah, so they had to, I think, shut down this pipeline, and now they're slowly bringing it back up, and it's going to take a couple weeks in order to get all that, to get this back flowing again. And so now people are panic buying gas, actually probably doing more damage and causing this to happen. I mean, it's very funny and strange, but thankfully, knock on wood, it's only really affecting the East Coast. But I guess some flights have had to be redirected because for refueling purposes and things like that.
Wow.
So it is causing some problems, but I think people are really making more of a deal with it than need be. And in a time like this, you should probably only buy as much gas as you need.
Sure. And
not go ahead and fill up every gas container you can find to store it somewhere. So, but what do I know? What do I know?
Wow. I saw a lot of references, and I've had my head in the sand a little. When did this start?
A couple days ago, like 2 days ago.
I was going to say, it couldn't have been too bad ago. I mean, I was just in South Carolina, Tennessee, down to South Carolina. I don't know if it's...
I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Or if it was... Is it exactly where? I didn't... The gas was in South Carolina. Almost my entire trip down and back, it almost averaged like $2.99. Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, so on and so forth, right around that $2.99 mark. It's roughly right around that in Wisconsin right now. So I certainly didn't see anything crazier than that. So very, wow, that's interesting.
Daniel Ginter says, JVD, I'm guessing they didn't have to pay the ransom. Do you know? Are they just nuking and repaving? I don't know, but my guess is that no, they did not pay the ransom, and they probably were restoring from backups if they're half as good as me, which they're probably twice as good as me. That's what they would be doing. So,
thanks, Obama. Can I say that now?
What year is it? Yes, I think it's now. It's okay.
Hillary. All right. I don't know. All right. Carney says, I need new conspiracies. My old ones came true. Okay. I'd love to know which ones those were.
I wouldn't. Please do not tell us. Message Terry privately.
It started this morning in NC is what Cody had said. Okay, well, I'm glad I was in and out of South Carolina this weekend. Patrick says, my daughter, Larkin, age 14, played in a WGE event in Georgia. Played a round after a tournament with Chris O'Cleary, 2-time champ. She was great. Awesome. That's pretty cool to hear.
It's always fun.
Cody says 279 for 87. I'm glad I got that reference in all of that with the gasoline. 279. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like every time I fueled up, it was anywhere between 279 and 299 everywhere along the trip.
Barbarian Stronghold Disc Golf says people create their own villains in the sport, mostly for their own way to enjoy their sport and the peeps they root for. He actually wrote route for, but root for.
We know what you meant.
I know what you meant. Yeah, I mean, everybody, like it or not, as a Green Bay fan, our villain was Jim McMahon, growing up as the quarterback of the Bears, and then he ended up actually becoming a Packer backup, and he's a pretty nice guy. Right now, your villain is probably a Minnesota Viking. They're probably great people.
It's been a week since Rodgers. What's the latest? I see headlines.
There are rumors that they're offering him a boatload of money, but nothing has been official. There's really been no real talks about it, at least not as of this morning.
And to be fair, money didn't appear to be the issue. I mean, money is the root of all evil. We know, but
yeah,
but money didn't appear to be the issue, right? I mean, that wasn't the. I mean, wasn't it about decisions being made?
Possibly.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know.
All right.
Everybody has something to say, and nobody knows what's real. So.
Well, Disc Blaster said all the old conspiracies came true. I know. My favorite one being that all of those people that were underground in New York in the tunnels, all the mole people that there's like 50,000 of, they've all been discovered, and they're all...
No. That didn't really happen. What really happened, Terry, is that Joe Biden is dead, and Trump is still president.
I've heard that too.
So,
okay.
Just so you know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the update.
I didn't want you, your conspiracy theory is clearly wrong. This one that I heard, clearly right.
Okay, that makes sense. I have a feeling Terry Miller scoobers quite a bit. I don't know. Terry Miller scoobers.
Like you throw scoobers? No, you don't.
No, never. No. It was the possessive form of scoobers I was confused by, but no, the answer would be not so much. I would like to not thank my cameraman, one of them, Dylan, this weekend. We decided to play the course when we arrived on Friday. Dylan finding himself a little off track, using the locomotive and freight line themes out there. Certainly off track, and there's a few spots where if you get off the fairway there, not so pleasant. So mine, Dylan's, and Dustin, the other cameraman, legs were shredded.
Oh.
Absolutely. It looked like I jumped into a pit with 3,000 cats that were violently scratching at us. And that's what all of our legs look like. And even the second day, Hannah's like, oh, she's looking at my legs. She's always checking out my calves. It's weird. But Hannah was looking at my legs, and she's like, yeah, here, look at your legs. It's like, yeah, thanks. That was due to Dylan's creative throwing off the fairway that did not do us any good. So Dylan did manage to retrieve one of the 2 discs that we ultimately looked for quite some time on. So thanks, Dylan.
Someone asks on the board, how often do we actually get to play? Not very often. I have not played I have not touched a disc this year yet. Well, not on a course. I've moved them around my basement a little bit. I'm looking forward. And granted, we've really only had like 2 really nice weekends. This time of year, our courses are still soaked. They're, I tend to try to stay off a course until at least May anyway, just for fear of tearing up the whatever grass is out there and things like that. So that's not a big surprise. So I think I last played in like October. I am looking forward to getting back out there, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, bringing my boy out and getting a few rounds in, maybe over at Abendshine or Valley View or maybe Root River. I don't know. Root River doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. I say this all the time, and I keep thinking I'm going to do something about it, just like I keep thinking about the gym. There's time. There's enough time in the day for Johnny, for we could. It's always a matter of prioritizing, and I feel like there's enough time in the day to go to the gym. I just don't prioritize it. There's enough time where we could go find a way to get 9 or 18 holes in. It's just a matter of prioritizing it, and then I guess that speaks volumes about the level in which we care. That we don't prioritize it higher, because I could play golf.
Sure. I could probably find like a Saturday morning and get out to go, or Sunday morning or something.
There's times it's just I don't find myself with that, and I'm not going all Val Jenkins by any means, but there's times where it's just like there's so many other things I really want to be doing as well, and then I sacrifice the idea of playing golf for it. And I would like to change that.
Osvaldo Nunez asks, can you ask Mo to leave the hole number in par for the hole that's being played up? Like the leader ticker, sometimes I will leave the room and come back and have no idea what hole's being played. I can ask him. It's not going to happen. But
I wish it would.
I know you would, because
and I understand there's problems.
Makes it easy for you as a commentator. But I know you probably at this point probably just overlook it, because it has information. The player bug, when a player is about to throw, we try to put it up almost every shot, will tell you what hole, the par, and the distance on the par. And it is mixed in with a bunch of other information. Usually I think it has like throwing 4 birdie or 4 par, things like that. But it is all in there. It's just not up all the time. So you kind of have to go in and wait for a player to be throwing. It'll pop up, then it'll pop down. I understand that people want it up there, and I wouldn't be opposed to it if we found a nice way graphically to put it up. But there are also logistic reasons why we don't do it. And I think we go over this every couple of weeks. All of our graphics are tied to UDisc. So when we go to the next hole, let's say we're on hole 7, we go to hole 8. If the scorekeeper doesn't finish or complete a hole on 7, they forget to put in that final score or hit the next or whatever, none of the graphics update. So then when we go to the next hole, it still says hole 7 until that scorekeeper updates it. Then it triggers the back end to update our graphics and say, oh, guess what? We're on hole 8. That usually is pretty good, but on occasion, we've seen it go all the way like through the drives of the next hole. Then it makes us look stupid because we have the wrong hole information up there, so we have to pull it down because we don't want to look bad. So there are reasons. Now we could maybe find a way to do all that stuff manually, but that really is a pain in the butt. Plus, then when we bounce to another card, so we suddenly jump over to the third card because guess what? Sarah Hokum's making a great run. That completely throws everything off. Now our graphics guy needs to dig up another hole bug from a different one because our hole bugs are tied to the leader card usually, and we can change them. It's just a manual process then. So I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining as to why it makes it a little bit more difficult. It's much easier to tie it into something like the player graphic. And if you actually, if you watch a lot of golf, they do that as well. You'll see that on the player graphic as opposed to what we're used to in disc golf with it having it up. again, if we could find an awesome way for it always to be right, I would have no problem doing it. So that is the reasoning as to why it's not up there.
Yeah, and like every decision, it may seem so obvious to some, and then there's either it's the reasoning or it's some kind of. It often just comes back to some kind of other back end challenge that is tied to something else as to why we're not doing it a different way, or even as Ryan Pilcher says on the board, he doesn't like seeing the running scores because he doesn't know how far through they are. It doesn't show you that. And so then I think we could always get into a discussion of how much information is too much if you're putting it all on a ticker or on a board or on screen versus having things be incredibly clean and almost no information. We're never going to come to a consensus.
No, nobody's. Personally, for me, I like it totally clean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the bar along the bottom. I don't think maybe if we had I don't want to offend anyone and say if we had a better graphic. I don't love the style. I don't love the look.
See, I like it
personally. I think it's okay. I think it needs to pop more. Like I don't know. Maybe it's the colors. It's just a little muted for me, and maybe because I'm looking at it all the time. But anyway, it doesn't show what hole they're on. Whereas if I think the actual marquee or the ticker, the one that scrolls across, will tell you, Paul Macbeth, -5, and then I think it has like through 5 holes or 7 holes or whatever it would say. I think that graphic does, but we don't really use that one a lot. So yeah, there's pros and cons to it, definitely. And we'll get more. They'll get better. We can only move up and onward.
All right. There was another comment that came in I wanted to quickly address. Somebody asked about going back to playing and or bringing my bag. I said that's when I knew that was a kind of a sad moment. A sad and scary moment is when I went on my first ever trip or plane ride without my bag. Because at one point, I had never been on a plane without a disc golf bag. Because even in college, the first time I was ever on a plane, I took a disc golf bag. Even though it was kind of a vacation, but I still took a disc golf bag. So at one point, every single time I'd ever been on a plane in my life, my disc golf bag had come with me. And then at a certain point a few years ago, when I was going somewhere to film, I didn't bring my bag, and it was a defining moment of like, oh my gosh, like my life is definitely changing and going in a different direction where I'm not even bringing my bag along at this point. And now I don't remember the last time I did take my bag. I mean, I drove this weekend with those two guys and had room for my bag, and I still didn't take it. And instead, I just grabbed 2 discs out of their bags and ultimately played with those. So, yeah, again, I could make time for it. I genuinely could,
Mm-hmm.
and I choose not to. Usually because I want to do more editing.
Well, and that's just it. Like when I have some spare time, lately I've been just sitting in front of my computer and doing After Effects stuff, trying to learn a little bit more about some graphics programs. I will say one thing I have changed my opinion on a little bit are drones for disc golf. There are certain spots where I think it really is advantageous. We saw it at DDO, where we had a drone shot. The way it worked was one of our cameramen, Trent, who's a very, very good drone pilot. He
also certified with his 107 whatever license.
An actual certified drone pilot, as opposed to most people who just walk onto the course and then do whatever. We used it on quite a few shots, big crowd shots, the island hole it was used on.
Yep.
I even actually used it for a live shot or two, which didn't work out that great.
Mm-hmm.
But I was careful as to which one I used it for, because I remember on hole 16 thinking, okay, Eagle's out of it. He can't win. I will use it for his shot, because if we completely miss the shot, then it doesn't really matter. Then Eagle threw a black disc over. So maybe if we'd have thrown a brighter colored disc, it would have worked better. I used it on I think it was hole 10. The one where you come out of the tunnel, the big Anheuser, where
That's 9.
9. Okay, yeah, I used it on hole 9 because our cameras just had these weird angles, and I thought I could try to get a drone shot of Paul throwing around the corner. I don't think it worked that great, but it is a great shot to bail out so my cameraman can move. It shows a cool overall perspective of the course or the hole that we don't usually get. So I used to say that, like, yeah, drones are I don't say worthless, but they're not needed for live coverage. Is that there are places where it'll work. Now the courses are few and far between. I think a Goat Hill would work out very well. I think that, I don't know about. My understanding is the Stockton course, a lot of low ceilings is what I'm hearing, and some water carries. If I'm hearing a lot of low ceilings, that means there's probably a lot of tree cover, probably not as useful. And as we get closer back to the East Coast, again, not going to be useful because you can't see anything. I did like having it. It was a real easy thing to go to move cameras. So I know that doesn't really affect you as much as it affects me out there, but yeah, and you can fly him for up to like 15 or 20 minutes. We have a couple sets of spare batteries. So you'll land him, he'll pop in a new battery, and he'll fly for another 15 minutes. So,
yeah, and as Alan said on the board, and something we've known for quite some time, that's one of the significant hindrances of drones right now. Obviously, if it's for starters, if it's so windy and you don't have a $50,000 drone up there.
I was shocked at how windy it was, and Trent was up there for DDO.
I agree, and I was surprised
very
that
steady. It was
good. We were able to still be able to do that. But that so wind is obviously a factor. Rain, obviously, you're probably not putting it up in the rain at all. But battery power is definitely a hindrance, or right now one of the downsides to some of the options that are out there. So I do like seeing them. I think the shots look great. For the longest time, I had said I don't think we're going to see them for our live show. We saw Fulcrum integrate them at the USDGC a couple years ago, and they did a really great job with it. However, you're only going to get so close as
you have to be high.
First of all, you just imagine
they have to be flying high.
The disc can obviously never even come close to interfering with it on crazy shots. So that would be my first and foremost, and then. Or maybe first and foremost would be just the sound and the noise and the volume. You don't want that annoying our players, especially because I feel like it's situational and it's not constant. So you don't want Eagle lining up his 50-footer and he's not hearing the drone, and then literally 30 seconds later the drone's in position, but it's definitely audible for Ricky's 30-footer. And I just think about how that's not necessarily fair if it hasn't been there consistently for the entire time on the green or something like that. Or depending on how loud, or when did it start up? When did it show up?
I have less of an issue with that, assuming it's not extremely loud and blatant. Because
that's the question: is how loud is it? Because if it's loud enough to hear,
everybody has to deal with on course different situations. Eagle could walk up to his 50-footer, and guess what? Suddenly a train goes by for the next 5 minutes, and Ricky has to putt.
But a drone is 100% controllable.
It is controllable. I agree, but I mean, the way we're flying them, they're pretty high up in the air. Well, they have to be because of those reasons. We don't want to be a hindrance to players or even risk coming close to a disc. So,
with stationary cameras, could cover every card. That's a deeper dive, but short answer, I don't.
Yes.
I mean, technically, yes. I guess. I mean, you're turning our production room from 4 people into 40 at that point, and yeah, I mean, just you're then looking at a PGA style or a PGA operation at the multi-million-dollar a weekend budget. And could we ever grow to that? Of course, there's that possibility. But right now, I still, even all these years later, no matter how many subscribers we have, paid subscribers of Disc Golf Network or previously free or whatever the model's been, I think too many people are still underestimating what it takes to have a PGA, an MLB, an NFL quality broadcast week in and week out. I cannot stress it enough. And I've always said for many years, one guy operating one camera on one Sunday has more cost than our entire live budget did for a whole year. Like, one camera cost with one guy operating it was more than an entire year of watching live disc golf provided by us. And so when you're thinking about the scale and magnitude of when everybody wants nonstop MLB or PGA or ESPN quality coverage week in and week out live, and I'm not saying we're not working towards being the best possible broadcast week in and week out. I'm just saying we're still disc golf, and we're still not there yet with multi-million-dollar weekends every single weekend.
Eric Sterner says, bring in more live audio. I like the moment conversations between players. We try to do that when there's backups. We'll turn the cameras towards the players. Mo's saying is layout, which tells the commentators shut up. It's a nice way of saying shut up and listen. So we try to get some of that. It would be nice if we could be able to get more, but that again brings in costs, because just because Ricky and Paul have kind of a cool interaction or conversation, we might get it on camera and we might not be able to show it live, but then you need to have someone that's going to be able to go and cut that and listen for that stuff. It's basically another person or a few people, depending on how many cameras you have, to get those interactions. We try to give you as much as we can, but ultimately more people want to see golf. So if we have the option of showing you the chase card further down the fairway, as opposed to the conversation that Germ and Ricky are having, we're going to show you the golf down the fairway. Sometimes we have to show you the conversation because our cameras need to move and we only have so many limited options. But
yeah, and I find that to be really also a funny choice, because I know I say this a lot, we can't please everyone or there's no consensus. I think if you could take an accurate poll and say, would you rather listen to Ricky and Drew Gibson have a conversation, funny or personal or otherwise, which obviously you have to worry about what maybe sometimes is being said if they don't realize they're live, but would you rather listen to them have a conversation during a backup, or would you rather watch the chase card throw their shots that are on that same fairway? I honestly feel like it's a 50-50 split. You polled 10,000 people. Yeah. I think it would be 5,000 to 5,000. Some would say, oh, I love hearing what they're talking about. They could be talking about a million different things. I'd love to hear it. And the other 5,000 would say, I don't care what they're talking about. Show us more golf. Why are we watching two people stand there and talk? So I'll just say, I feel like it literally would be a 50-50 split. I personally would love to hear what they're talking about. If it's me, if it was exclusively me making that decision, which it's not, I probably would like to hear what they're talking about. Now, are they talking about the tattoo that Drew got yesterday, or are they talking about
the one he got 2 weeks ago, or the one he got 3 weeks ago,
or the spit?
What about the one he got 4 weeks ago, Terry?
Or is Ricky, describing the spit and the rollaway that he had on the previous hole? Of course, I think even within the conversation, it provides interest and or context. And is that lead card 7 or 8 strokes ahead of the entire chase card, and it's the final round? I think there's a lot of context that matters there. So Andrew Hinks, again, thank you so much and happy birthday. Says Smashbox is my favorite weekly show. We hear that. We thank you. Keep up the good work. See you in Utah for Worlds. Thank you so much, Andrew. And again, seriously, happy birthday.
Dust asked about commentators. Are commentators, camera people, editors, etc. paid as freelancers, day rate, salary?
Not paid at all.
It's different for everyone. The camera, as you call them, the camera people, our camera ops. We have 3 full-time, I believe it's 3 full-time camera ops that travel. They also are the ones doing the course setup and breakdown.
4.
Is it 4?
Well, Sam, I think Cam is considered full-time with us. I feel like he's been at everything. Sam, Cam, Trent, and
okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if Cam was like full-time with the Pro Tour, or if he was like still technically a freelancer. Either way, maybe it's 4. I don't know. It's not.
And Evan, by the way.
But we do have full-time camera ops. The commentators depends on
the team, the people, the weekend.
Correct. Like Terry is part of the Smashbox contract, so that's different than if we bring in Charlie, who I think is more of a freelancer. I don't think they really have any editors right now, but Yeah, and I believe it's mostly for those people day rates.
Yeah,
but it's different for every scenario. So say, we had a graphics guy come in this past weekend, which we had never done before. He was basically a freelancer. He at the end of the event, he sent an invoice to somebody at the DGPT, and they're going to pay him. So it all depends on the situation. It's a little different for every person.
Earlier, somebody had also said, Carney said would rather watch FPO. That's another, well, I'll say great alternative, assuming obviously they're out on the course. You'd be surprised how many people would say, no, I don't want to watch the FPO. I'd rather listen to Drew and Ricky in my example. I'd rather listen to them talk. You insert all your options, and you're still never going to find a consensus on them.
Terry is paid in soft pretzels. That's pretty funny.
I wish. I would take that now. I would absolutely take that. What it is with soft pretzels, I don't know if there's anything with them. It's something I've enjoyed all my life.
You got to get some good cheese with it, though.
Yeah, or mustard. I would entertain that.
Mustard's all right.
But it starts with a soft pretzel with a little bit of salt. It's
some butter.
It's almost literally the only time I actually seek out salt. Otherwise, I refuse it. Everywhere, every other place, you would typically find salt.
I like a little bit of light salting on some things. So.
I salt nothing. Not even popcorn.
Charlie is a damn good commentator. Guy is total ESPN. Charlie is a good commentator. He's got a lot of experience with Ultimate. Yeah,
that's not Charlie's name.
Charlie's other account. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Good to hear. Randy says, off topic, is Kale's Preserve the best disc golf getaway for a southern boy looking to visit up north, or is it another locale I should look up for a vacation? I mean, you obviously need to stop there, and it is, of course, this incredible facility, but you'd have to clarify more in terms of either timing and or what you're looking for. Because if you're going into, we'll say, the Minnesota area, Minnesota and or the Twin Cities, you're going to go to Blue Ribbon Pines. You're going to go to some of the other amazing courses. Kale's will be one of your stops. It depends what your limitations are. You could also find yourself fully immersed in a place like Milwaukee for a week or a weekend. You can go to northern Wisconsin and go to a Sandy Point along with High Bridge Hills now. You could go up there for a weekend or 3 or 4 days and play 4 or 5 or 6 phenomenal courses, all very close together. Or like I said, you could go to the Twin Cities, get a hotel in downtown St. Paul, and then there's like 180 courses within, I don't know, 2 hours of you. So I guess it depends on what you're trying to specifically find or seek out, but it certainly would be a good place to start. I mean, they have 3 courses on one facility. Of all the courses, it clearly sounds like the new Red Fox one is the one that jumps out at me as maybe the most my style. It sounds like it's a little shorter and a little more technical. But yeah, they have 3 courses on site. It sounds like a good day.
Does sound. Brody Smith joined the board, probably coming to yell at me for talking smack about his front 9 on
way to go
for that final round that he had. Little rough start there, buddy. I was watching. I did say you made a dumb decision when you took that 7. You should have laid up that putt, but you're aggressive.
Be aggressive.
Be
aggressive. About your DGPT coverage to grow the sport together, as mentioned in Nick and Matt. I'm not familiar with. I know Nick and Matt, but I don't know what you're referencing.
Someone had mentioned umbrella coverage, and basically what he had meant is bring all the coverage under one umbrella. So basically, the post production would be all on the DGPT YouTube or the DGN, depending on how you look at it. And I said that's something I agree with. I've said it for a while. That was the Steve Dodge thought process that when he fired us, and I agreed with the thought process. I didn't necessarily agree with the results. It would require a few things on the DGN or DGPT side. They'd probably have to hire a few editors, probably another cameraman or 2, but you could do it. I don't, and let me just say, it's not happening right now. I don't think it's going to happen next year. I don't know when it's going to happen. Don't freak out just because I say it's going to happen, people. Like we're trying to cut people out. We don't make any of these decisions. They're all done above our head. I'm just saying that business-wise, it makes a lot of sense, just as Brody's saying. So, but there are things that need to happen before we get there.
All right. Reading down. Oh, did you hear the guy that originally invented the umbrella was just going to call it Brella? He was, but then he paused. Okay. All right. Moving on. Brody contends that that was not a dumb decision, that he says, if I make that putt and save my par and stay in contention. So I guess the question is...
It was an all or nothing type of shot. Like, I don't disagree with his thought process there, that you need to... He was, he needed to stay in contention. If you're looking for the win, then that's the decision you make. If you're looking to... it was a dangerous putt to attack with the wind and the basket placement and the OB. Again, he was on the lead card, not me, so it's hard to doubt his decision making. Just saying that that was a tough spot to be in.
All right, last thought. Cody says, yeah, let's say GK Pro, Jomez, and CCDG all work for DGPT instead of posting. I don't see that happening, Cody. And I used an analogy a million years ago about, everyone has their own branding, everyone has their own different values and or goals, and that's not to say all those people would even want to. I think there's a lot of alternatives that would happen before that situation. I mean, if you're talking about everyone essentially just becoming an employee, there's a reason a number of different companies exist, and everyone exists in disc golf media for probably a slightly different reason and or has a slightly different motive, objective, and business model. And I feel like I just don't see all of those coming in under the same one. That's just me, though. All right. You guys go back and forth. Okay. Andrew says, your fans love you for running that putt, and you know it. Keep up the great entertainment. Terrible joke. Yeah, I know.
Terry's full of terrible jokes.
Yeah, I get plenty of them. Now, to be fair, I'm now getting fed terrible dad jokes by my own children.
Oh,
because of course
certain.
They see them on TikTok. They tell them to me. I laugh hysterically at them, and then occasionally I remember a few. So it's ultimately their fault at this point. All right. Yeah, Lee says, I think you play to win. That's how you win. Huh. Yep. Okay. Let's see how Alan handles criticism. The backups at Goat Hill were obscene and seriously. Here's my question again. I'm ignorant. I know, shocker. Were the backups due to play? Like did somebody throw out of bounds 10 times? Backups do get caused for different reasons, so therefore I look at them differently. As much as everyone hates a backup, no one hates backups more than media. Live media. Yes, the players hate them, but so do we. Backups do us no good. We've been saying that for 7 years.
So my understanding, and we talked about this in our media call about backups, was that days 1 and 2, the rounds flowed pretty smoothly. There weren't the big backups. But for some reason on day 3, the backups showed up. So they were unexpected, is my understanding.
Okay.
And then on top of that, you had... again, all these holes run together. Was it 10, the big one?
Yeah, Alan says the backup on 10 was ridiculous and should not have happened.
Well, so there was a backup. Let's put it this way. First, there was a backup. There was like a 3-card backup or something, 2-card. I don't know, Alan. You were there. I wasn't. But then, right before the lead card, the chase card throws, and was it No, it wasn't Presnell. I don't know. Someone threw right to the OB line. So I guess there is a imagine like a light post.
Oh, I think that's right when we turned it on or something.
And there was a string that was tied to it, and the disc like somehow wedged in a really funny spot where they sat and debated it for too goddamn long.
Okay.
Because it put everything to a stop. Like 7-10 minutes they were standing there looking at that disc, it felt like, or waiting for Alan or Jeff to come down. I know, but it just ground everything to a halt. Like there were backups, and then there was that. That was brutal. Like and I understand you want to get the right call. You want to make, you need to do what you're doing. And I'm sure Alan, who's a great TD, learned a lesson from that. Whatever it was, whatever the call was, whatever the situation was, you learn. You move on. You fix it for the next time. Shit happens. But yes, that ground us to a halt, that particular spot. And I don't know what the cause of it. I can't blame anybody.
I mean, Mike's on the board says the backup on 10 were caused by the absurd wind. Loads of people were going OB. Yeah. And then Alan says probably moving that, I don't know if he's talking about the same hole, moving that tee back about 60 feet, maybe moving the basket to the right of the fairway so it's virtually unreachable. So talking about ways to hopefully mitigate or address it.
I don't like that
I might be
virtually unreachable. I don't like that because then it just makes it a 3 for everybody. Or maybe not. I don't know the course that well, but yeah.
All right. Well, and Disc Blaster, I mean, I'll gently, I know you're not shocked by this. I'm going to gently disagree with you where you're saying, I don't want to hear another word about Nico's slow play until all TDs get a hold of backups, not just Alan. Mutually exclusive or not mutually? What's the phrase? Like, those have no bearing on one another. Someone breaking rules, anyone, for any form, whether it's slow play or anything else, someone breaking rules, here's what I'll say about it. I've heard somebody make that argument. Well, Nico exceeded 30 seconds, but he's still waiting on the card in front of him. He still shouldn't be and I'm not trying to pick on Nico here. I'll say that of anyone. Just because they're still waiting on the card in front of them doesn't mean that you should be able to break a rule somewhere else in the course in another fashion. And I'm going to throw everyone out there right now. This has been a little bit
bring it, Terry.
Firing up on me a little bit. I love me some Bushnell 850 Sport rangefinders. Love them. I think we have no way to not love them anymore anyway, because they're here and they're here to stay. We're not putting that lid on that can of worms or worms back in the can. I don't care. However, for goodness sakes, people, take out your damn rangefinder, your Bushnell 850. They're not sponsoring this message, but take it out, use it, and do it all within your 30 seconds. Because here's what I'm sick of, and this is happening way too often in men's and women's divisions. They get to their lie. Oh, I'm going to range find this. I think that's great. Bust out their rangefinder, use it, go back to their setup, their gear, put it away, tuck it away, make sure it's nice and safe, get your disc out, contemplate. You're exceeding 30 seconds 9 out of 10 times. Mm-hmm. Somebody else said it, and I'll repeat it. If you're going to use your rangefinder, stand where you are, use it, and then subtract how many steps you're about to walk to your down frisbee.
Yeah, because if you can't tell the difference between 30 and 20 feet or 10 feet.
I am so frustrated by watching, and I'm not anti-rangefinder. I'm anti you taking more time than you're supposed to. And if that means it's coming in because of the rangefinder, then use it ahead of time. Stand 10 feet behind your disc, stand 30 feet behind your disc, and zoom it in and dial it in, and then subtract 30 feet when you're about to get up and throw. You could do those steps ahead of time, before it's even your turn. You could do that. Way too many people are exceeding 30 seconds, and I'm seeing it in both MPO and FPO, and it's just that is definitely slowing things down. And then anyone that's like on the fence about rangefinders, they see that, and then they really get fired up about it. I'm good with them, but let's make sure you're using that within your 30 seconds. All right. Sorry, I had to say that.
You got it off your chest now.
And I'm going to probably have to say it more because it's getting worse.
It's one of your pet peeves over the last couple of months.
I've always hated it. I'll say this. I've always been frustrated by any player, man, woman, or otherwise, that exceeds 30 seconds. So I know a lot of people think I'm picking on Nico. I'm not. He happens to be one person that frequently does it. I'll call out anyone, and they all frustrate me when someone is habitual with it. When you do it once in a round and it's not your average, I'm not saying that's not illegal, but if it's a rare exception to your standard play, that's one thing. If you're doing it 9 or 12 times around, Yes, you're frustrating me, and you're breaking the rules. All right, I didn't plan on that, but dang, people. I do love the new 850 rangefinder, though.
Yeah, I guess it does elevation, too.
It does elevation, and they've now taken away yards and meters, I believe, entirely.
Just feet.
I have one. I haven't had a chance to bust that one out yet, but I believe they took away the yards and meters, so you don't have to click through it and double check. It just gives you feet because we're stupid.
I definitely need to get one, and the next time we play, or even the next time we go anywhere, Terry, I'm just going to pull it out at random times and check things. But the next time we play golf, I'm going to check every shot, every putt. If it's inside the circle, if it's just barely outside the circle, I'll be like, I know this says it's 34 feet, Terry, but the circle's marked right here. Every time. I'm going to use it every time.
Brody says, give us better caddy books then. Again, like Disc Blaster said, it's common knowledge. You take care of your prep while others are shooting. And I love you guys using them. I think it's great that Bushnell has stepped up in the way that they have. I'm good with all of it. Do it ahead of time. Dry off your disc ahead of time. That's those types of things you can be doing while someone else is doing their thing. You can be starting to dry off your disc or get your disc prepped or grab, dare I say, the two remaining ones you're thinking about instead of getting to your lie, walking back to your bag. Put your bag near you, by the way. Walking back to your bag, flipping through it, taking 6 discs out, and then whittling that down to 2.
Warming up with 3 of them.
Yeah, warming up with. Then finally you're putting 1 down, then you put the other. Oh my gosh, people! You have 30 seconds. All of you. You have 30 seconds. Throw your shot. And no, I'll ask you this: do you think, as I'm ranting about 30 seconds,
all right,
should it be 45 or a minute? Should we increase that time? Is that one? It's obviously a solution. Is that a viable solution that we increase the allowable time to 1 minute? I think 45 seconds is a weird time. I've seen it suggested. That's why I say it. I feel like going to 45 is just kind of a weird increment.
No,
is 1 minute better?
I think 30 seconds is fine. I think 30 seconds is fine.
Okay.
I've never in my life had a problem with hitting 30 seconds on the course. Like, it just, I've played in all caliber of events. Now, granted, there are issues when it's tough to get to your disc because it's stuck in a tree, or you finally do get that position. You get your leg under the tree, and you realize, oh no, I'm going to, I'm going to take the forehand instead of like the stretch out backhand. So you get up and go get your disc. That's fine. As you said, there are exceptions, but you can always step off your lie for any reason. You can, you're supposed to be because it's distractions, but
free of distractions.
Free of distractions, but ultimately you can do it for any reason and just call it a distraction. I understand what, but I don't have a problem with 30 seconds.
Wow. Brody, chiming in on the board along with so many others involved in the chat, says, hot take, there shouldn't be a time limit per shot. I'm not gonna use your words and then say it's a dumb take. But no, I totally disagree.
I think he
says it would be about the group's pace of play. I have a problem with that because I think about some of the groups. I've TD'd hundreds of events. I've seen how some groups play. They got no care in the damn world, and
especially if you're the final card.
They have no care in the world, and whether it's they're too chatty, or whatever other reasons, usually just chatty and being too social, I think is one of the common ones. If you've thrown a million shots, interestingly enough, the worst players on the course usually are not the slowest. I've TD'd enough tournaments to know that. You would think like, oh, well, all the lowest rated players, whatever they are, whatever that number is, they're not usually the slowest players on the course. It's the people that are too chatty, the people that don't put their bag or their equipment near them when they're about to throw, the people that are just lollygagging around with no care in the world. I've seen it all. No, I do not agree with the idea of it should just be about trusting the group's pace.
Well, I think that's how I think there's like, I don't think there's a written time for golf. I think that there is a pace of play that if the group behind you is running up on you consistently, the officials will come out to talk to whoever's in the group that's probably causing the backup. But there isn't, maybe I'm wrong with this, but I don't know if there's an official set time. And we just don't have those sort of resources. So, you know, to complain about somebody, if you're on hole 15 and, you know, your group keeps running up on the card in front of you and you need to call Alan Risley and he's at Tournament Central because he's probably one of 2 officials on the course. He's the TD, and maybe there's an assistant TD to come all the way out to you. It just, I understand where you're coming from, Brody. I don't necessarily think, like many of the things you say, I don't necessarily know if we're there yet, or if that's something that we can look at in the future when we have more officials on the course, if that's the way we go. I don't know. But right now, I think the 30-second rule is a pretty good standard rule that pretty much everyone can abide by. So
just play within the rules. And I apologize if Brody, you are saying I am not understanding your take, and you're saying that they get warned, that the group behind them gives them the warning, and if they get warned again, the players get stroked.
Yeah, that's tough because if you're on a card, if it's Brody, Nico, Philo, I'm trying to think of someone else who's super slow, but or who's slower than normal, but somebody else, you might not. It might not be your fault at all. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. So,
and marshals are a potential way to come out and help alleviate or mitigate or challenge all of that. I agree. I mean, and we could have the debate for hours about, should we be enforcing the rules on our own players, and should the card mates be the ones responsible to enforce rules on the players that they're playing with, and instead should there be an official walking along with every single group? And that too, I don't know, again, call it old school line of thinking within disc golf, but I also think about an official that walks along, and when they miss a call or they don't see something or something happens, is it going to feel like there's a bias in that sense? I feel like that also opens up a whole nother can of worms, and it might solve some problems and it might create new ones. Maybe it solves all the problems. I'm not sure. I don't, I know right now, tournaments try to get sponsors, tournaments try to get spectators, tournaments try to get spotters, try to get scorekeepers. I think we have all these different needs for tournaments, and I'm not sure how logistically practical it is just yet to have an official with every single card. I feel
it's not. We all know that it's not logistically reasonable right now.
Will we get there in our lifetime? Yeah, probably. Maybe. No. Maybe not.
Not our lifetime. We're old. We're probably gonna die soon.
You're old.
Yeah. Like 6 months older than you?
Something like that. All right. I think we beat the time limit on that has expired. But long story short, play faster, people.
Prep better.
Take 29 seconds on every shot. Let me be also clear. I'm good if you take 29 seconds. I absolutely am. If every player took 29 seconds, I wouldn't say a word. It's when you habitually exceed the 30. That's what finally gets me going.
Alan Risley's talking about how they're getting a lot of interest from more sponsors, that they're looking at maybe doubling the budget next year.
Boom.
So congratulations to Alan.
All I heard were 36 more cameras out there and 18 marshals. Yes. That's what I heard when I hear doubling the budget.
Yes. No, what we're going to do right now is we're going to give something away, because that's what we do. We're going to give something to a Patreon supporter or someone that signed up on the website, who's all added to the list. There were 3 of you this week.
Boom.
So one more than last time. Look at that.
Mhm.
We're going to give away this disc member box that we were talking about, which I have no
we
clue
are.
what's in here. I never know. It's a big surprise. Big surprise. So we have 202 people eligible for our giveaway. Terry, they are sorted by email address. What number?
I mean, 29. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
will punch you. It's right in the gonads.
Let's see here. I don't know. Our world champ tonight has 4 world titles. That's just in FPO. She has other world titles, but she has 4 FPO world championship titles. So the 4th number, I think, tonight.
Okay, I can do 4. We have the first number was 69, dudes. Second number 162. Third number is 33.
How are they organized?
Email address I told you a couple of seconds ago.
I didn't listen to you.
I know. Our 4th and final number is 115, and I scroll down to 115.
Ooh-wee.
And that is the Chicken Man himself, Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers Roasters.
Wow.
So congratulations, Kenny Rogers. He probably hates that because he's gotten it his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a gambler.
There you go. You got to know when to hold them, right?
Know when to fold them. Congratulations, Kenny. We will be getting your information out to you. You've been a Patreon supporter for a long time.
Thank you, Kenny.
So, thank you, Kenny.
We appreciate that. Wow. Sweet. All right. Appreciate it. All right. Nova's out on the board. Says small tennis tourneys run with only one umpire wandering around watching 10 to 12 courts in play. Roving officials can work. Yeah, and a lot of tournaments do have them. The Marshall program. I'm not going to say I was one of the first ever marshals, but I think I was in the PDGA many years ago. And it is a really good thing to have. And yeah, it always begs the question. I mean, look at the OB ruling or question that was taking place on the backup hole. And again, I'm not familiar with the course, but let's just say they're in the opposite, furthest possible way on the other side of the course. I guess then the question is, do you have 2 or 3? Are they broken up into sections? I think if you had 2 or 3 at an event, you'd say, okay, hey, Joe, you're going to be out here for 14 hours today, by the way, because, well, not 14.
You're covering holes 6 through
Yeah, you're
12.
6 through 12. And someone's covering, 13 through 18 and so on and so forth. So maybe it could be broken up that way. Because what I think a lot of the times when you have some of these questions, it's specific to the course. Oh, hey, I landed here. Is this out of bounds? Do I get relief from this? Do I not? If there's somebody nearby, maybe some of those questions could get answered right away. And you'd want somebody that is very intimately familiar with the course and the rulings in that section of the course. I feel like the USDGC kind of had this model a few years ago. And I think it's a solid idea. You need those people out there ideally for the 3 or 4 days of competition. Hopefully it's the same people because there's consistency then. There's an idea there. Yeah, it's just a matter of how would that get implemented, I suppose. All right. Somebody wants Nerf guns out there. I like that as a good idea. SSJHR, I think we're changing subjects a little, which I'm okay with, says, I need to know when Prodigy will be releasing their signature discs. I'm wanting to support my boy, Thomas Gilbert, but it's taking forever.
I just think that this year is going to be, there's, as we know, people are still playing catch-up. COVID still has not completely gone.
And there's a lot of backlog.
There's a lot of backlog. So
for everybody.
As much as it would be nice to be able to, I'm sure they have some priorities, and I'm sure they're trying their darndest to make that happen. But I hope they get them out soon for the players' sakes. It helps out the player. And for all I know, I don't know. Maybe this is the case. Maybe it isn't. They could prepay those players possibly before those discs go on sale. If you know that there's, let's just say there's going to be 10.
Maybe they are.
There's going to be 10,000 Chris Dickerson discs that come out, and he gets, we'll just say $5 a disc. I don't think that's the number. They could just give him $50,000 at the beginning of the year, knowing that they're all going to sell. That something like that could be happening. So ultimately, yes, by buying those, you are supporting the player. You are showing interest in them. I don't know the case, but they might be prepaying some of these guys, so that's not hurting the pocketbooks, especially right now when disc manufacturers, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say they're probably more flush with money this year right now than they have been in the past.
Yeah. In every manufacturer handles Tour Series versus Signature Series. All of them are handled differently. I wish there was a blanket statement. Maybe I do or don't wish that, but just knowing that they all handle it slightly differently. And I know there's a lot of anticipation, for instance, over like the Sexton Firebirds, and they'll come out.
They just dropped, by the way.
I already got mine, so you guys can go out there and look.
I want to know how many people like go out there. That's too bad. I wish I could just let the joke sit and see how many people went out there and get really mad. They're like, they didn't. I missed them. No, I didn't.
No. Yeah. Again, every manufacturer handles those all just a little bit differently. So Lee says the pros, I get a great disc, but it's more to support them. And that's obviously a great thing to do. We appreciate that. All right. Alan says we'll be sending out surveys to players, volunteers, spectators to get evaluations and feedback that will help us improve, certainly. Jeremy looks like a new name in here saying, back in the 90s, there was a rule where you could take relief from a tree or bush without stroke penalty. Played with a guy who was sponsored Masters player in the late 90s.
I don't remember that particular rule.
Unless there was something specific to that course or that tree or that bush, or if it's maybe a super thorny bush, for instance, and then at that one tournament they said, hey, if you throw into the thorn bush on hole 9, you can take relief from that. I'm just speculating and making stuff up here. And that if that was a rule, as far as I know, that would have been well before I entered the game in 92 or 93.
The early 90s, yeah.
I've never heard of it worded in such a way. So I don't know that that's, in fact, a thing. So who is going to send me my disc? You guys are Tyler Brickley? You guys are Tyler Brickley? Oh, Tyler Helmke. Do we still owe you one, Tyler Helmke? If that's a legit question, then let's make sure that we're on top of it. If that's an old one, I know when we made that joke a while ago, if you're still owed it, send me an email immediately, and it will go out tomorrow if that somehow is still lingering. Sam says, Alan, my daughter and I love the trophy. She is 7 and wants to win one someday. Okay.
The goat trophies. They were pretty cool. I'm not going to lie.
What were they made out of? Could you tell? Was it
goat.
Like a goat skin?
Goats.
Okay. I like
endangered goats, actually.
Oh, okay.
So it makes them even more rare.
That's a good cool. Good call.
That is a good cool, Terry. On that note, I think we can wrap this up for the night.
Oh, fine. Tyler, I just put in my email address. Shoot me a message. And
we'll
if anyone else,
Tyler Brickley.
and if anyone else, I am pretty caught up. Maybe not entirely, but if anyone else is expecting or has won something and somehow it hasn't gotten out to you, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I do not take offense to it. If anything, it's just a nice slap in the face for me to get on top of it. But seriously, if there's anything that you're owed, we make good on all of that, so make sure you send it to us. Send me a message, and we'll make sure to get it taken care of for you. All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. Holy cow, it's 12:29 locally. We got to thank Val Jenkins for joining us in the regular show. Super excited for the upcoming few events. We got that whole West Coast swing all in full effect. Please make sure you're subscribed out on Disc Golf Network and getting all that fresh, hot content. Lots of live disc golf coming your way. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, and all of our Patreon subscribers, thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you to any super chatters. Again, thanks and happy birthday to you, Andrew. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.